we'll just have a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything here. I've been itching to paint this vehicle for quite a while. Now this one, unfortunately, because of all the craziness, I think if this was at Historicon, I might have had a chance to paint the new Semavante kit that Warlord has. That is quite literally the plastic version of this. Oh, which is sweet because it can make a bunch of different vehicles. It can make a bunch of different vehicles. Oh. However, there is no Historicon, so I'm just gonna have to deal with the old resin kit here. And you're going to see there's really not much different approach from this and what we were doing with our infantry. We are just going to take our sponges. We're going to go over the top of this and take a decent chunk of this away. Let's see, a highlight on the muscle. We'll love to see you tackle weathering, deal with the base dry. Nope, this is kind of an all-in-one sitting thing. Now, if you're asking me about, say, adding the sand effects or whatever, well, maybe that is something that I would let dry first. But with the desert vehicles, there is not much in the way of rust, as in like none. So we don't have to worry about that. And as you can see here, what we were doing, we did some chipping and some other stuff there. That was all wet into wet. That was all oils right there. So I did buy some stainless steel balls for the paint. Would that work? It does. That's actually what's in here. A little agitator in there. But as I told you, for me, because I've got 1,000 sprues like this, metal sprues, I just chuck these in my jars here. And like I said, that's all that's in there. That is all it takes. Nice and simple. Let's see, depending on the qualities, I've had some rust. The pewter stuff, obviously, that is designed to not, what would you say, to not tarnish or anything like that, or rust. It's pewter after all. So you're perfectly fine there. But I keep thinking that I gotta get to my stage there with my sponges faster, and I'm like, no, this is oils, baby. I don't have to worry about that. It's all good. Olive green, our umber. Just letting this cover the entire thing here. It's the same as what we did with our Bersaglieri. It's just a tank now instead of just a Bersaglieri. We're almost there. Then we'll hit the turret as well. Any other areas that are missing like this? Not that it's a big deal. That super heavy 37mm anti-tank gun. Oh yeah. Good old early war. And the Army door knocking machine. Alright, we'll set you aside. Let's see. No spurs on that metal, or no sprues. Okay. Well, now the other thing that you get, boy, I don't. Oh, unfortunately, those are in another room. When you get Warlord stuff, there's a ton of metal sprues. There's metal sprues galore. So you get Warlord stuff, you'll be well stocked with metal sprues. Okay, there's your machine guns there, just hitting him, making sure we get some kind of something everywhere. Good enough. There's that. Sponge time. And oh, look at this. If I actually even take the sponge and kind of do some directional strokes there. think you can see what's happening. Now let's get the last little bit on our turret here. There we go. So you can see already big difference between the two. Let's get some sponges now, and let's hit the rest of this. We're not trying to wipe this out completely, and we can even do, look at this. So I just did some stippling there. That gives me a very different effect. So instead of just wiping away that early glaze, we're actually kind of painting with it. So Warlord Games, you can see that logo in the lower right-hand corner. They are the ones that make all of the bolt action stuff. They also make Pike and Shot, Black Powder, Hail Caesar. It's another company like Games Workshop or any of the other miniature companies. But their main, they do a fantasy game now. I think it's Warlords of Erewhon or something like that. But their main claim is historical stuff. Basically all periods, ancients, Middle Ages. They've got, well, here, Cruel Seas. So I'll go again. So these are basically almost all Warlord figures here. Now, especially since Trenchworks is, they do tanks for Warlord. So all these Warlord vehicles. Now, actually, that Crusader is a Rubicon vehicle there. So more Warlord stuff. More Warlord. More Warlord. Oh, look. More of that. And actually, Cruel Seas is another thing that Warlord does. I've got a couple of Cruel Seas tutorials on the YouTube channel. So we're just taking away some of that. We leave some of it behind. Yes, bolt action is historical. It's World War II. It's a skirmish level game, but it can be scaled up pretty big. You can do a 2,500 point game, especially if you've got, well, a Tiger 2, which is going to be almost 700 points just alone by itself. But it's all based on historical scenarios, and so basically you don't have Italians fighting U.S. Marines or Japanese, or you don't have Vichy French fighting Russians or something like that. It's not like 40K where anything goes. It is definitely, you have much more controlled circumstances with bolt action, which is why I really love it, because it's not anything goes. And basically, there's not a big difference between, say, that vehicle and something like this. The gun may be a little bit different. Now, this one also has riveted construction, well, so does this one too. Yeah, the Warlord stuff, or the historical stuff, I love it because there's no surprises. There's none of this, oh, you realize that you didn't know my army has this spectacular thing that destroys your entire army on the first turn if I roll a 1 or better? You didn't know that? And usually my answer is no, wasn't aware of that. Yeah, that doesn't really happen. So again, we've got our paint that's kind of, look at this. Look at this. See, it's already kind of mixing there. Look at that. The same thing would work on a 40K vehicle. So you want to paint those Eldar wave serpents and fire prisms and all that kind of stuff. I would think being able to blend the oils on that would be mighty handy. Look at this. See how that all just it's blending together with a little bit of that look at this. I'm just taking, that's some of that pre-wash there. And I'm just taking that, and all I have to do is literally just drag it down the front of the vehicle here. That's all I've got to do. The key is not a whole lot of paint. Let's see. First I have to grab a picture. It's my first attempt at painting completely with the oils. So folks, go take a look at that. Actually, if you want to just send me that, like on, say, Instagram or something like that, or you could send it to me as a whisper or whatever, feel free to do so, because then I can actually check it out and really look at it. Look what's happening here. Look at this. See that streaking there? Why would you want to do that separately when you could do it all at once right now? It just, look at this. Look at that. You want to do streaking? Oh, wait, it's happening automatically by itself. Why have that be a special thing that's going to happen afterwards when it could happen right now? Go back, we'll get some more of our paint here. Look at that. See how nice and smooth that is? It's the proverbial easy button. Doesn't get much easier than that. Look at this again. Just let that, we'll just let it do its own thing. Look at that. I can even, because I got so much of that color off of there. Oh, look. It's almost like I'm dry brushing, but look at, see how it's picking up all that old color that was there? Let's see, my painting is a little cartoonish, so it'd be interesting to try and paint some historical stuff. So Bilbo, now that's another reason. Okay, so with the historical stuff, now you saw my early war French. This is a fun story. You'll like this. So I had done my basing with all of my flock and static grass and all the usual foliage, right? For years I'd done it. And I thought, oh, this looks fantastic. This is, maybe it's not hyper realistic, but boy, it's pretty darn close. And then I tried doing that on some of my historical figures, and I went, this stuff stinks. This is horrible. This is terrible. It was so horrifying that I had to completely change the way I flock and base my figures, because it looked like junk. It was terrible. And it was because I did the historical stuff, and that completely changed the way I saw basing miniatures. So look at this here. Look what's going to happen. You can see how we can preserve a little bit of those early glazes. Look at that. Here, let's grab a little bit more of our raw sienna yellow ochre. We're not wiping out what's underneath there. We're just kind of augmenting it. We're working with it. We've got our, let's make sure we get this back panel over here. And staying away from rust. We don't want to be having rust on here because it's a desert vehicle. Primary methods of weathering in the desert are going to be your paint chips and your sun bleaching. That's why we're actually probably going to get some light flesh tones out here. So you can see that looks very different, doesn't it, than it did just a little bit ago. Now we've got our turret. Needs the same treatment. Again, we'll just look at that. Look at how that's blending. See how there's a difference in the light versus dark there. Oh look, we'll even put some on our tank commander here. Just lighten him up, get some of that same kind of tan color on him. It's the wonderful thing about the desert. I think we're all caught up on our chat. Okay. taking advantage of, again, that pre-glaze that's on there. But you can see it almost, look at this. There's barely any paint on my arm. Okay, here. This little thing right here, this has some of my white spritz in it. What happens if so see, now it's all very wet. Now it just got way wetter. However, look what that lets me do. But did I start out that way? No, I did not. I started out with it being much more of a drier brush. I'm going to get some more of my, again, my yellow ochre here. Really going to grind that into that brush. Like so. And I do believe that might have here. Let's get some more of our tan into his uniform shirt. Oh, he has binoculars. I just saw those. So now we can maybe go a little bit lighter. And it'll make a difference too. We have not yet begun to lighten this. Get some of this onto his shoulder here. Get onto his hat. I'm going to have to find some reference pictures of Italian tank commanders to see if that hat is black or not. You can see how we're getting a little bit of streaking there. Just a touch of it. Make this a little lighter now. Again, that yellow ochre. Ever so slight touch of my white spirits there to thin that down some more. I'm going to start to lighten a few areas here and see the difference that will make. But I got to go back and get some fresh paint. If I just keep hammering away with what's on that brush, it's just going to get dirtier and dirtier. And you'll have less and less and less paint actually going onto the figure itself. Remember, thinner paint sticks over thicker paint. And we're setting this thing up for some chipping and other such things later on. Chipping is, well, we always used to say weathering is like a chess match. You got to plan several moves in advance, and that's sort of what you do. Especially with oils, you got to say, okay, you know what? I'd like to have some chipping along this edge. What shows that better than having a lighter color on the edge? Look at this. Now I can really see the difference in the streaking right there. You can really see that. Maybe not so much of the lighter tone there. We've got toolbox here. These, we will hit those with a little bit of rust because that's your exhaust. And we're not going to make these too light. We want to hit that almost more with a soot or something. We are going to hit a little bit of lighter color here on all the running gear. Boy, I see this and all I can think of is, well, Hungarian vehicles have the same running gear. Any vehicle that kind of basically started in Czechoslovakia has that same type of running suspension, just like you see the Christie suspension on British vehicles and Russian vehicles, everything except for U.S. vehicles, even though it was invented by a U.S. guy. And this looks like a dry brush, but not a dry brush. It is actually not a dry brush at all. That light brush stroke, right? Being very gentle with the brush strokes. Not just lighter, but starting to think about some streaks over there. And the tracks, if I let the tracks stay a little bit darker than some of that sandy stuff that I try and get in into where the tracks are and such. That's going to show up a little bit more. So here, we're going to get this lighter too. So there's your sprocket. So we can make that a little bit lighter, but yet still have some of the darker shading stay behind. Now we're just gonna, and again, when I mean clean the brush, I just mean take a paper towel and just wipe the paint out of there. We're not cleaning it like you would clean an acrylic brush in water. So some of the MIG ammo oil brushes, this one was always a favorite of mine. Right here, this flesh tone, if I can even get this thing open, holy smokes. Not sure that I can. Okay, yeah, that one's not going to open for me, because now this is the other reason why I like my own oil paints better. So here's what happened. It's been a while since I opened this thing. Look what just happened. So that's not terribly convenient. All that's left on there is some glue. Holy smoke, I cannot open this thing. I'm going to need a wrench. I'm going to need a channel locks to open that thing. So now you know why I made my own oil paints. That is why. As much as I like those oil brushers, that is something that they are prone to do. So we're going to use, let's see if Sunny Flesh will work. Oh, okay, good. I was able to open that. Yeah, I'll just throw some of this out here. There we go. We'll get this, and again, I tried to take care of these as best as I could, and you saw what happened there. Now it's also, I mean, it is very thin. Here, let's get back to, yeah, well, again, that MIG ammo oil brusher thing, I probably haven't touched that in, good grief. I think the last time I might have touched that one was the Mountains Man in Oil series, which probably takes you almost a year ago, if not longer. Yeah, at least a year ago. Which I guess that tells me that I've got to open these things up at least once a year, or once every few months. Yeah, let's make this a little bit lighter now. Look at the difference that makes, but now you really start to see the impact of the oils and being able to blend there. It basically, to me, we used to divide everything into pre 9/11 and post 9/11 because of the impact that had on us. Because for all intents and purposes, we are still trying to financially recover from the impact of 9/11. Because what 9/11, or what this is doing to a whole bunch of people now, that's what 9/11 did to us. It wiped out the 2D art business. Oh, that's what I meant to do. I meant to have, well, I'll have it for tomorrow. But do you remember the second half of my birthday stream where I painted the Italian battleships with the fluorescent paints and doing it in 2D art fashion? Yeah, I'm going to be posting the video of that later tonight. That's all good to go. Yeah, let's get the side of this. Now, there was a point where I knew the entire Italian marking system and their numbering system, but that was a while ago, so I don't remember it right now. So I will have to look that up again before I sit there and do the markings on the side of this. So just, you'll have to forgive me if I don't do the markings. And I think I'm just going to have to freehand those on, because while the new kits obviously would have the decals and such, I do not have any decals for Italian vehicles whatsoever. Oh, we have a Roland. How are you doing? It's weird running into someone I've met in real life on Twitch. Hopefully everything is somewhat okay there. Here, we'll get this even lighter now. And that's your MIG ammo oil brushers. And we'll get into our chipping and other such things too. Don't be afeared. We'll do that. I'm going to get a little bit lighter up in here because that's really then going to show you some of the nifty little streaking that we can do. And this is why I don't have to weather after the fact. It's like, why not just paint the weathering in there straight away instead of screwing around with it afterwards? Just start out with it. Going to get a little bit lighter here along our edge. I mean, this surface is pointing up towards the sky anyways. It should be catching some of that light. And in just a second here, then we're going to stop fooling around with this. We'll go back to our turret. Like you do. Get a little bit of my lighter color here. Look at this is the other advantage of this brush. We're going to go full-on edge style here. Look at that. Yeah, we can do that with this brush. We can use it as a more of a flat brush, but we can also use it with the pointy edge. Look at the dramatic light that we just did there. Are we going to do that absolutely everywhere? Certainly not. I do believe here we're going to have some of our oil staining kind of stuff going on. Let's see. Nessie and I have been regular attendees at Captain Con. We need to convince Seppi to stream. It's not the easiest thing in the world, that's for sure. It can be there are some technical hurdles to overcome to be able to do it. I still think it's interesting that it's really only been a couple of months since YouTube essentially forced me to do any kind of live streaming on Twitch because they made it very clear that they don't want anybody doing live stuff on YouTube. Otherwise, they will ban you and put strikes on your channel and do all kinds of other wonderful, fun things to you. Well, look at how much lighter we can get, but this also has a little bit of flesh tone to it. So I think you can start to see different tones that we're starting to get here. Let's see, those lighter streaks really make a huge difference. And it was just a couple of brush strokes, right? That's all and we can still get lighter than this. We can still get lighter. Now, we haven't really done much here in the way of much lighter. So we're going to do that. We're going to, again, grab something here to get some of that paint out of the brush. So now I got mostly an empty brush here. Heck, we could do this with a sponge if we wanted to, but look at this. Look at how smooth that is. Is that not? But now you get to look at the variations that are on that hatch. Lots of fun variations. I am going to go back into a touch of raw sienna and such here. That's a little bit too dark. We don't want quite that dark. But it also can be a slightly different color. We got some of our yellow ochre in there. Like so. More of our yellow ochre. Because why not? But then maybe let's see if we can't get a little bit lighter up here too. Just the same effect that we had up there. Let's see what happens when we do something like that right here. But yet it's a different color. So see how that's more of a yellowish color? That's a little more yellow. Now we can do the same thing right in here. Let's grab some of that. Look at how much lighter we can go. Let's spread this out now. Yeah. I mean, how
Hello,
fun
little
is that?
audience. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow, Kiwi Mace. It is appreciated. Let's see. My strokes would look like someone dumped a bowl of ramen on the hatch. Well, Lord Dave, funny you should mention that. I don't know if you've ever seen the film. Now, actually, it was a propaganda film, and they sort of a blowtorch was involved. But you'll see if you just look Africa Corps boiling eggs on a Panzer, they basically well they took a blowtorch and they hit the fender of a tank and they boiled or they fried their eggs on the fender because they tried to just do it. They thought it was hot to the touch, right? So they thought, oh yeah, we'll be able to cook the eggs on this. And then they turned the cameras on, and it wasn't working. They were just kind of like bubbling a little bit, but they weren't actually cooking. So they so they took a blowtorch and they made it really hot, and they were frying up those eggs on that tank. So look at the difference that makes. Look at all the, but see the color difference there. See that yellow? I'm gonna go more. We're gonna double down on some of this yellow here, and where are we gonna go with that? Right in here. So look at that. See how that changes it a little bit? This is the beauty of the oils. Can't do that with the acrylics. You can't get that subtle change. I mean, yeah, okay, you could use filters or whatever, but well, now people are waiting 2 days for filters to dry, and then they're going to put another filter on there, followed by another filter, and then another filter. Meanwhile, I got the tank done, and it looks pretty much exactly the freaking same. Or you could just kind of sit there and literally watch paint dry. That's pretty crazy, Lord Dave, isn't it? That is pretty crazy. Well, now I do know that on our living room door we basically torched a Christmas wreath. To this day, 10 years later, it still smells like a Christmas wreath. Oh, look at this. Look at that. Nice little difference there. And then we take some of the paint out of it. And then we just do a little bit of blending like that. Soften that edge just a touch. Soften that. Now, I wish I could remember which one of those pictures is the Crusader and the Panzer, the Jagdpanzer. But I'll find that in just a second because I want to look and see just how much rust did I do on the exhaust. So let's get a little bit more of our yellow here. We're liking this yellow bit. Oh, somehow I just got some of my Terra Rosa in there. It's like a Reese's freaking peanut butter cup. There's some yellow. Let's go the other way here. Once again, oh, look at that. Just a tint of yellow. A tint and a hint of yellow. Are we going to do some of that back here, perhaps? What about smooth that out a bit? We'll go to our hatch and we'll get, or our turret here. Let's get some of the yellow onto that too. Maybe even a little bit onto his uniform. Give this a thorough cleaning. Look at that. Look at how clean that is now. Back to our MiG ammo. Man, it's been a long time since I used this stuff. Personally heated up MREs and various so it does work. It does work. Okay. Actually, well, does it matter? This is my next question. Does it actually matter what kind of metal it is? Or does it matter? Obviously, if it's a lighter colored vehicle, it's going to reflect the sun a little bit more. Now, I don't think anybody's going to want to be driving around a black vehicle in the desert. But I wonder if that makes a difference too. Ah, look at this. There's some more streaks going right there. Here, Let's have a yeah, touch of lighter color. Let's hit his uniform again here. I'm still thinking maybe he's got his hat must be black or something. I'm gonna have to at some point maybe see if I can sneak away and just try and steal a reference picture on that. I'm just gonna get some Terra Rosa here mixed with the colors we already got, and just slap a little bit of skin-ish tone there. And then I'm going to take some of this Terra Rosa here. Remember we were talking about having a little bit of pink on the vehicle itself. Yep, there we go. A little bit of sneaky sun bleaching there. Throw just a touch of pink on that. Nessie knows if a color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere, even on a tank. Might even chuck a little bit of that over here. Look at this. I can still blend this. Yeah, look at how it's picking up some of that dirty original orange. That's still there. That's still usable after all this time. That is still usable. Now we'll get back into our yellow ochre. Now some of our MiG ammo. More streaks. But it's kind of a minimal type of streak. It's nowhere near as heavy as something we would do in a much more rainy climate. It's snazzy. It's snazzy. Now, I just heard a story. I can't attest to just how true this is, but it would seem that the Italians had a bunch of FT-17s. Now, for those of you not familiar with an FT-17 is, that is a World War I era French tank. The thing in bolt action, its rule is painfully slow. And I've actually seen one of these, the Bovington Tank Museum, right, for their Tank Fest or whatever. They had one of these things working. You could walk backwards blindfolded faster than this thing was moving. And yet somehow the Italians had grabbed a couple of these things and they got them to go 40 miles an hour on the road or something like that. God knows what they did, but they did something. They took like Ferrari engines. I don't know what they did, but that stupid little FT, that basically would be like watching a Yugo outrunning a Formula One car or something like that. That was in. That's the. I don't know if that story is true. As I grab, look, I can grab more white here. I can go lighter than this. I can definitely go lighter. I just want to make sure I'm caught up on the chat as I look at this. Look at how much lighter, and I'm basically considering that to be sun bleaching there. We're going to do some of that again here on our hatch. Along our edges there, maybe. Get a little bit more of that white. Can make this a touch lighter. And remember, this had no paint on it at all. How hard has this been? This ain't been hard at all. It's freaking easy. I mean, yeah, I could do this with acrylics. It would definitely be more work. There is no doubt about that. It would be more work for sure. Steelers, it sounds like something we'll do. We do, and it was just recently. It was literally just in the last couple of weeks. I don't know which of my historical YouTube guys that I might have been listening to. I think it was the Time Ghost project. Yeah, and they were because it was about the Italians in the desert, and they said somehow they got an FT-17 to go 40 miles an hour. Okay, basically, you know those what are those things? The scooters, right? That you see people riding around. Imagine one of those things going about 70 and passing you on the highway, and Grandma gives you the finger as she goes by. That's pretty much what an FT-17 doing 40 miles an hour would be like. Now, what was the late war American tank destroyer? Was that the Jackson, the M18? It wasn't the M18. Was it like the M20, M30? But it was the Jackson, and that thing. Somebody has restored one of those, and they bring it out on the highway, and they can actually do drifting with it because it's going so freaking fast. They were doing like Fast and Furious stuff in a World War II era tank. Well, actually, a lot of American tanks had plane engines. Well, I guess Americans have this thing with plane engines and tanks. So look at this. Just it's so freaking simple. It can't get much more simple than the oils here, and it's all just in one. Look at all the streaking and everything else that we're getting. We don't have to make this be a bazillion separate steps. Doesn't have to be. A Vespa M36 Jackson. Okay, thanks, Guy King. But it was like a father and son crew or something like that, and they have a fairly extensive collection of tanks, and they had restored one of those, and they took it on the highway, and they were passing cars with it, and like blowing by them in this thing. Funny as darn. Oh my god, that was freaking hilarious. That was hilarious. Okay, so do we want to do some? Well, here, let's get a little more lights on some return rotors here. Just bring out a little bit more of the running gear. Okay, here, we're going to take some of our raw sienna. Let's go all the way back here and get some of this wall. I can still see plenty of my original glaze color there, so that's nice and wet. I can still work with that. Boy, this is usually a royal pain with the acrylics. With the oils, this is the other reason why I like the oils, because all that stuff that's a pain to reach in acrylics and do any kind of shading on. Yeah, with oils, it's like, yeah, whatever. I love to see the look on his face when he pulls over an M36 and he says, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And he says, "What's it to you?" As he points a 75 millimeter HE round locked in the barrel there. He says, "Yeah, what's it to you?" Well, actually, probably just the 50 cal mounted on the back of that thing would be deterrent enough. Now, you want to be a road warrior. Somebody's going to be in front of you texting or doing their makeup or eating a sandwich or something like that. You pull up to them in an M36 and you point that barrel at them. That might catch their attention. Now, Ape Jeep is lurking. Let's see, it's the torque and horsepower ratio. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I look at, they'll talk about some of the horsepower in maybe some of the older, like the T35, and you'll think, well, how did that thing even move? You've got, you have like kids' toys, like the little cars that kids drive. Those things have more horsepower than some of the tanks. Like whatever the little two-man Italian tank was. But then that's the crazy thing about the early war designs. That's why I like them so much. that the Italians all had these tiny little tanks because they all thought they were going to be fighting in the mountains, and they wanted something that was super light and could climb in the mountains. Whereas the British said the slower the better, until they came up with the cruiser tanks. Ah, Sky King. Now there you. Oh, that would be a funny meme. That would be a hilarious meme. Cause yeah, that's open carry. I'd say that's open carry. It would be like oddball. Now I'm gonna do a couple of little glazy things here while I'm thinking about it. Ooh, you don't belong over there. Oh, just on Mr. Tank Commander here while I'm thinking about it. Just get some glazy stuff going on with his hat and his face and other such things. Like I said, I had a picture or some references of this tank commander here years ago, or whenever it was I was going to paint this. So let's see, what are my desert armies? Well, DAK, your British 8th. I've got some early war kind of Operation Torch Americans, but I also have Vichy French, and I've got Free French in the desert. So I definitely want to do a Syria thing for sure. I don't have LRDG. Eventually, maybe I'll have me some LRDG too. So, sponges. I think you'll see what maybe we have in mind next here. So we just rough that baby up. Is it time? We're going to find out. Because we're going to take a little umber, a little of our black, and we are not going to thin this down whatsoever. So wet oils over wet oils. Boom. Oh, look. Yeah, that can be done over wet oils. I'll just I'm going to make a smaller piece of, there we go. And that's the same makeup sponge that we were using earlier. Let's find some obvious spots. Now, unlike the acrylic stuff, though, you basically get one shot with this, maybe two. So again, a little chipping going on, getting a little chippy. Couple of shots, go back. Another one here. Get some little bit of chipping there, and that is over wet oil paint. That is wet oils over wet oils. It can be done. It has been done. You've seen it done. You can do it too. Look at that. Look at that. Now, let's see what we can do here on our hatch. Back here. Again, I only got a couple of shots max. That's all I can do. Before I have to go back here and get some fresh stuff. Couple of shots. That's it. Go back. Now around this turret, I like to do this around turret rings. I got something about weathering turret rings. Don't know why, just do. couple of shots. Always go back, get some fresh stuff. Let's get this hatchet, and then we're going to go back and obviously do some by hand to make maybe some bigger chips. Let's see. Sidrian just started playing with oil paint. It's like I have to learn how to paint all over again. It was, when I first started using them, it was, I gotta say, it was weird. I loved it, but it was different. It was very different. Here, let's, especially there along that bottom. I love on the bottom edges of these things too, on the turrets. And obviously leading edges, well, sure, of course. Let's go back and just take a brush here and let's see what we can do to make some of these maybe a bit bigger. I'm just going to stage some paint right here, the true thumb palette. And because this brush is just kind of a wacky shape here. Oh, actually some of our, where'd they go? Remember these? The one true brush and, oh, spatter. Hey, we might actually get to do some spatter. All right, let's, for the heck of it, let's see. Oh, liking this. Oh, so much. Oh, yeah. Geez, I completely forgot about my chopped up craft brushes here.
Who enters my domain?
But look at this. We've got ourselves a raid, a Reaper raid. How's that? Very cool. Thank you so much for that raid. It's kind of appropriate that we've got some vehicle painting going on with a raid in progress.
Hello, little hobbit. Spark my ganja.
Thank Bird with a Brush, folks. Give Bird with a Brush a follow, and she is one of the. Well, she's the person responsible for a whole bunch of those Reaper starter or get started painting kits and stuff. So be sure to give her a follow because you kind of already are. If you've ever used any of those Reaper get started painting kits or any fun stuff like that, she is the genius that makes those happen. Oh, look at that too. I just did there. This is the beauty of the oil paints, folks. This is the beauty of the oils. Because I can go back in here and say, oh yeah, maybe not all these chips right here. Maybe we just take those chips and we just kind of do something like this. Look at that. We have just now kind of put that right back into our regular shading there. So nice and soft. So folks, we are working with our oils here. We are painting not just some Italian vehicles, but we're also painting some Italian Bersaglieri here. And here's our turret on one of our mighty Caporettos. Yes. Now, Cranky Dog, let's see, just ended the Reaper D&D game. Okay. And F Francis, how are you doing? And SLS Miniatures. Well, I've got... This is going to be going on for a wee while and all day tomorrow because we've got a couple of vehicles here, one or two. So we got some kitties that we'll be working on, and we've got some of our French vehicles that we'll be working on. And oh, speaking of monster vehicles. Yeah, we've got the land ship, we got the T-30. Let's just have it go like this across the screen. And it probably moves just about this fast. Well, actually, I've seen one of these. That's about how fast it moves. Right there. M-Tellies, how are you doing? Yes, it's some bolt action. Oh, wait, we got a T-28. Yep, T-28. That's going to be in some winter, but we're kind of starting out with the desert. Oh, thank you, Armored Wolf. Thank you so much. Let's see, Bird with a Brush has a ton of really awesome minis she's painted on her website and Facebook. So yes, Bird with a Brush, definitely look that up. So with some of our Russian, we're going to do something like this to this, because we're going to be doing this all day tomorrow and into the night. So this SU-85, we're going to make it look like this T-34-85. Probably using a couple of different things just to kind of experiment. Let's see, Sky King said you don't have to change your thinking with oils. You don't have to buy that shade of gray. You can make it. Well, haven't we been making all kinds of nifty shades here? No, wait, this goes up here. So for the folks that are new here, some of my bolt action stuff. So this was the very first bolt action army that I painted in oils. That was my Winter Soviets. That's part of my Patreon page series. And thanks again, Armored Wolf, for all of those subs. This was the very first set of miniatures that I ever used oils on. This was my Winter Americans. And as you can see, all the blending on their coats and everything, I did 20 of them in a couple of hours. And I just had to wait for them to dry, and then I did the snow effects. I mean, it was unfreaking believable. Now, this is the most recent army that I did. This was for Operation Sting last year. That's my Fallschirmjägers, 1944, Monte Cassino. These 3 vehicles, one's painted in weathering powders, one in oils, one in acrylics. You guess which one. Oh, thanks, Sky King. Let's see, and Sidrian says, my biggest problem right now is trying to brighten a spot. I lay down a bright color, come back to smooth it out. And I'll tell you, that's basically letting things have a chance to dry. So see that Crusader on the left there? That was done in oils. Very much like, and I'm just going to go back here, so you can see a lot of the same colors, the same weathering patterns going on with that. Now, where were we here? We were there. So Winter Germans again, oils very handy. And I think that both of those Matildas were painted in oils. Let's go. That's your little Bren carrier over there, also painted in oils. So these are, I've got about, I think, 4 bolt action battle reports on the YouTube channel. There's my early war French. And there's another peek at the Monte Cassino army with the display board all set to go. So we're going to come back here. And again, this was also painted with oils all in one sitting. We're not waiting for things to dry and varnish and all that kind of stuff. You can see we're working on some chipping stuff now. So this is my typical brush right here, and we're stippling this on. Now, as Sidrian, you were just saying, if I keep going after this, like right over here, you see I can see brush strokes over here. You can't off camera, but I can see them here. There's some brush strokes right here. If I let those sit there a good 15, 20 minutes, what I can do is come back later. Here, let's, with another fresh brush. Again, the key is to leave this sit there for as long as possible. And then I do this. It's almost, look at this. It's like I'm just kind of buffing this, like I'm basically buffing a countertop or something. Like over here. So we got these streaks right here. What if we don't want those streaks? So I just took those out. We can leave these streaks here. Up here again, I can see brush strokes there. But because I've let that sit for a little while, look what's happening here. See how that's all kind of getting buffed together? See how it's kind of staining the color there too? And we're going to do the same over here. Now, the hatch. Same thing. I can see brush strokes right there. What are we going to do? I'm going to take our little blending brush. Because we haven't touched that thing probably in a good 20 minutes or so. Look at that. See how smooth that is? But if I keep hammering away at that, it was the same thing. Now again, here's some other stuff that was done in oils. So both of these done in oils. Obviously the colors are a wee bit brighter than what we're doing now. but the same goes into effect here. Yes, you can do detailed things with the oils. These are all done in one sitting, but I have to let things not dry, but just kind of chill, right? It's almost like bread in the proving drawer. So we got lots of things that we've painted in oils. Here's the most recent thing that we painted in oils. So here's our dark sword. There we go. So this is some of the most recent stuff. This was painted in a live session right here. And this was actually for the Patreon page. So this is a little dark sword action for you. Also painted in oils. Yeah, to get these guys out of harm's way. This was also painted in oils. Again, a whole different set of colors here. You can see how we can mix those. Look at all that nice blending that you can get without having to do a whole lot of glazes. And I'll show you one more little fun thing. Again, this is for the folks that are new, maybe not as familiar with this. So one of these was painted in acrylics, one was painted in oils. And you can watch both of these videos on my YouTube channel. This one was painted in acrylics. Actually used fluorescent paint on this. The oils, no fluorescent paint, actually has a brighter tone. Which one of these glaive race would be easier to do 10 times all in one sitting? This guy in acrylics where you have to glaze it and let it, and it's going to be dry. Or one of these where you're just working on all 10 of them while all the paint is nice and wet. But to hide the brush strokes, I had to let this paint sit there 15-20 minutes-ish. Go back over it like you saw me just do to this vehicle over here. Had to do the same to this guy on all those nice flowy robes. Same thing there. And for, well, let's show some Reaper miniatures too. Oh, well, this is the King Kong thing with oil right here. Let's just go right to the big thing. Where are you at? So this was done in oils. This is half the size of a human head. Look at all those bright colors there. That actually does have fluorescent paint. There is fluorescent oils. And that was all done in, like I said, one sitting. It was about 11 hours or so. Look at all the little free-handy type things going on there. That's a Caracola. That's from Blackheart Models. Again, done in oils. Same material we're using here. This, maybe not quite such bright colors. Maybe not. The brushes were the same. Paints are the same. Now we're just using one of my cut-off brushes here. So, sorry for the little interlude. And I'm also like happy as a clam because I get to use my indigo for the very first time. Now let's get a couple of... There we go. And let's get some more intense. This is all wet oils over wet oils. You can see that it covers just fine. Why? Because this is thick paint over thinner paint. We also don't want to go too berserk with this because you can go too far too fast with this stuff. This is another reason why I wanted this brush. Look at that. See how it's a line? Look what I can do here right along the edge of that hatch. Ah, look at that, huh? Didn't think that was going to happen with oils. Let's see. Cranky Dog asked, do you need special lighting to make the fluorescent paints pop? Actually, no, you don't. They don't glow in the dark so much. Well, they do actually if you hit them with a black light. But the idea is all they do is they just sort of enhance they just make the color more intense. So I'll show you on camera here. So let's, oh look. I love my Reaper Clears, but let's compare these two. Look at what happens on camera. This is just my regular camera light. Look at this. Look at the difference between those two. What's actually a really good combination, what's a fabulous combination actually is these two right here. And where did I use that? I use that on here. So you saw fluorescent, and some of the clear red. That's what we used a lot. Look at that. A lot of that. Now that's just on a regular camera, regular lights. Look at how that's just going bonkers. Let's see, who does a decent vibrant light? Actually, just take phthalo green. Oh, where's my oils here? 1 second. I'll show you a good little combination here. All right, boom. So, push you out of the way. So if you're looking, basically this is one of the combos that I did on that Glaive Wraith with the green. So Phthalo green, this is a very intense green. And this cadmium green light, this is also another variant. Both of these two are really intense colors. This gives you a spectacular shade of deep, rich, bluish green. SLS. I mean, just amazing. Now there is, of course that just flew out of my hand, there is a fluorescent green and a fluorescent orange oil paint. Right, look at that. Whoops, dropping it again. But look at what that does to the camera. Look at how crazy that is. That is, let me see if I can dig this out here. 1 second. It's from Marion Street. Look at that. So there is such thing as fluorescent oil paints. The green is nowhere near as bright, but then that's just kind of how it is with the fluorescent paints. I've learned that kind of the hard way. But yeah, the Reaper, the clear colors and the fluorescents love to play together. And you guys know that I love my Reaper clears. Those are kind of the go-to paints there. So we're just going to get a little bit more of my chipping here. It's all wet oil paint over wet oil paint. Like you do. Look at that. Let's go back to this guy over here. Let's find ourselves a couple of more areas to do some of our chipping stuff. Then we got to get into some rust on those engine cowlings. And I'm looking. Okay, so here we've got our PZ38T. Little early war action. We're going to do some of that on that engine cowling. Let's get this, let's get ourselves a little bit of rusty type color here. Oh, wait, we were going to actually play with, some of this. Haven't actually had a chance to use any of this. I just want to see what crusted rust deposits looks like. I have no clue. Haven't used this yet. Just throw some of it out here on the palette, I guess. So it's not terribly, okay. I think I'm going to mix this with some of my Terra Rosa. I'll just use that as the paint thinner. Where's my paper towel here? So a little Terra Rosa. We'll use a little bit of this to thin it down. Oh, let's have a bit of our umber here. Start with a darker rust. Like so. Let's darken it down even more. Other side. Remember, minimal rust on this thing. Because desert, rust, not a big weathering thing in the desert. Sandblasting, paint chipping, sun bleaching, yes. Rust, not so much. I suppose if you're in Tunisia or something like that, maybe. Or your western desert where potentially you could have in certain parts of the year some rains. Okay, so we've got our initial rust on those pretty fast. Oh, no problem, SLS. It is impressively bright, to say the least. And even that, even this, that is just ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, little phthalo blue. Look at how intense that is compared to that. You can really do some wonderful things with the oils. Well, and let's see, I do have some few pictures of where's my Reaper figures here. Reaper, Reaper, Reaper. It's after all my Book of Wappel stuff. Holy smokes. There we go. So again, that's more of your fluorescent paint. Those are just bones. That's just bones figures. You can see the impact that that gives you. Any other, no matter how bright the orange is, it just looks like, well, even here, you know, that I mixed a little bit of the fluorescent green in with my greens. And these are all just bones figures. That's all. So let's go into now some of our lighter rust color. Let's see what happens with that. Okay. Touch lighter here. And I might even throw a little bit of either raw cyan in there. Here, let's thin that down even more. So that actually was thicker than I was expecting. Interesting. Very interesting. So I want to thin this down so that it actually runs like that. Basically, think of it like a pin line wash, right? All right, let's go a little lighter now. Yeah, just got some of my yellow ochre in there. Couple of lighter rust spots. Perhaps a little lighter. That's it. And again, think of it like that pin line, panel line wash. We're going to be doing a couple of those actually in a few locations on the vehicle here. Alright, so now we've got ourselves a wee bit of rust going on. Let's do some of our darker glazy type stuff. Here's a, was it olive green, right? Just going to take some more of my white spread, a couple of dots there. We'll darken this up. We'll have some fun here. Into some of our running gear because, well, we also have to darken those down. Oh, actually, I'm going to take some of my indigo here. Yeah. Darken that down. Gotta let the oil flow where it's gonna flow. Remember, it's got some super duper capillary action. We gotta let it do its thing. Just like, look at how it's doing that. All I have to do is just touch the brush to it. That is all. On these leaf springs right here. See, I'm just touching the brush to it. Not swiping the brush. I'm really just touching the brush. Look at the difference between that one and our other leaf spring here. Bam, look at that. Just getting some separation now. Tank tread. You know what? This is where I might actually fool around with just the slightest amount of rust. Oh, and look at how that little bit makes such a huge difference. A little bit can go a very long way. Just a little touch of it there, because we can go in with some dust or whatever into our treads. You just have to think of that. Remember the chess match that we're playing? We are playing a chess match here. You plan these things out, moves in advance. We knew, well, I knew anyway, this particular move was coming. See, I can get just a touch of my rust in there. And I mean a tiny bit of it, but look at that. All of a sudden, that running gear compared to this side, there's not a lot going on. All of a sudden over here, there's a wee bit more going on. Just a bit more. I want to take some more of that indigo. Actually, I'm taking the indigo and the ivory black. Wow, I thought Payne's gray was a very nifty bluish black. Oh, was I wrong? That indigo, wow. That's not a super expensive color. It's not like the it's not like the cobalt violet that's $43 for a tube. That is not, it's not quite that expensive. So it's actually got a little bit of Terra Rosa in it there. Well, let's carry that right up to fender there. Now again, some of our olive green. Again, doing some of these pin line washes. Let's find ourselves a brush that's even a little bit. Ooh, you know what? I've been wanting to try. So this is that Da Vinci here. Haven't had a chance to try it with the oils yet. I want to see what it does. So get more of our pin line washes. What are we going to do? Just going to let that brush sit right there. Right around the rivet. And it just kind of sits there. Just sits there, not hurting anybody. This thing, oh my gosh, this thing really needs to get chipped up. Like a lot. And they're standing on that thing. Same thing over here. Yeah, a little bit better. Same thing over here, certainly. Look at that, we are painting some nice little chipping right over. This is wet oils over wet oils. You can do it. Yes, you can. However, you just got to make sure you stop doing that and you get some fresh paint again. Some more chipping there for sure. Get some right along this edge. This edge too. And right over here. There. We'll do the same on this side now. And if it's too much, if let's say, you know what, that's too much, whatever. Yeah, we'll just, boom, there we go. Took a whole bunch of that away. No problem. Let's see what we can get here on this hatch. As far as maybe some larger chip in, maybe not quite that big. Just in that corner, and that's enough. Maybe down. I'm just kind of playing off of what I already did with our little spongy thing. There's a technical paint term, spongy thing. You can use that term too. That's free right there. Oh yeah, I need to get some chipped away here. Not just on the hatch itself, but then here. And then I'm going to take actually just a touch of this here. I'm just going to play with something right there. Okay. So I just took some of the paint out of the brush here. And I'm just going to kind of smear this into here. And now we've got even a little bit more difference between that and our hatch. Now this is that straight up blending brush here. We'll just kind of buff that right in. So see here we got that kind of a yellowish color, and now we've got almost like a dingy color here. Same thing here on the front. So yeah, it's tan or it's khaki colored. It's desert camo colored, but that's what I mean by more weathering than just rust and chipping. That's where you can get yourself some just little additional depth. Now we're going to have to do the same thing on the other side of this. Just going to get a couple of more darks in my running gear here. I'm going to have to dig out the PZ35T from my early war Germans box. So we can correct. Look at, see again, there's just a little bit more going on here. Maybe we throw a little touch of rust here. I mean, this is ever so slight. I mean, this is just a tiny bit, a little bit of that Terra Rosa, basically. Oh, let me see. The Roy experience has to. Oh, thanks, Roy. Appreciate that. Yeah, we've been trying to show several different things, several different aspects of the weathering and that sort of deal. And that we'll get to the tank commander as well. We won't just let him languish. But we're trying to play around with several. Look at how, see how that's, look at how that's drying. Remember how wet that looked? It's not quite so wet anymore. Couple of, again, just a little bit chipping in there. Don't do too much. All right, so that side, we're just going to say that is settled. We're not going to mess with that anymore. Let's start to do some darker glazes here on this running assembly. Same little pin wash there. Brings out those leaf springs. You go a little bit darker. This is the indigo mixed with the ivory black to go even darker again onto some of the road wheels here. Keeping enough of that thinner, enough of that oid spirits to make sure that flows like that. Capillary action. And they say contrast paints have capillary action that pales in comparison to the real deal, which would be the oils. I mean, now you're talking about some serious capillary action. Do this some more. Again, all along our treads here. And they can be just, I don't want to say they're not black, but they can be darker since we are going to go back in with some dust, some desert dust type of thing, and have that set down inside the tread. There's nothing more fun than having that dust set down inside the treads themselves. And this is always the fun part here. I always love this. When I start to see the difference between the tread and the sprocket. Ah, that's so fun. It's the simple things that make me happy, I guess. Back again to a little touch of Terra Rosa. That is just the most, it's a great kind of skin tone color. It actually makes a fantastic weathering color for rust. Should you need rust, again, desert vehicle, minimal, absolute minimal rust. Yeah, we're getting some nice darks here on our treads. Taking that indigo once again. Man, that is an intense, very intense dark. Loving that so much. And it's pretty thin down too. It is pretty thin down, and yet it still does some wonders. Look at that. Oh, I think we're just about all the way around on our tread here. We're going to go with a touch of our Terra Rosa again. I think we're all caught up on the chat. Just always try to every so often look over there, see what's going on. Now we need to get actually some chipping and stuff back here too. We'll do that in just a second. And I think we are now, yep, we have circumnavigated all of our treads. We're good there. Let's go back here. We've got to hit that spare wheel. We're going to have to hit some of this. Back into my indigo, mixed with a little bit of Terra Rosa. Okay, there we are. got to go back and get some more because remember, it's picking up the color that's already there. Which means we got to go back and get some fresh stuff. And then we just got to leave it. You can put a little bit there and then you leave it. So do a touch of Payne's gray here too. Again, spare wheel. Letting that glaze do its thing. All of a sudden that starts to stand out a little bit. Maybe we can give it just a hint of rust if it's been sand. I mean, this is the slightest bit of hint. That's it. And now here around our fuel cap there, we're just going to hit that with some staining here. And I've made it a little bit more transparent. I've got some of the big ammo stuff that's it's got a little bit of a, what would you say, some glossiness to it. It's thin but also has a little glossiness. I mean, in lieu of that, I can always just, when it's all dry, give it a little shot of gloss varnish or something like that. Here, let's see that. We look at this. We actually feathered out some of our little rust things going on there. Let's see, Roy. My Terra Rosa Matter, Cerulean Blue, and Payne's Gray came in the mail today. Wow. I'm not the only one who's getting really cool stuff in the mail, oil paint wise. Wow, well, congrats. Those are going to be, I think you're going to have some fun with those. Look at this. Look at what's happening here. We're taking a little bit of our, I mean a tiny bit of our rusty color here. We're going to go right around that tank, the turret ring here. Right around that turret ring. Taking advantage of the oils. Why would I not do this? Why would I want to just wait for that all to dry and have to screw around later? I can just do all that right now while it's wet. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of using oils, right? Because they blend. Why not really take advantage of the blending? Which is what we are doing here. But I can't wait to see what kind of fun you have with those. And Steel is going to be getting that Holbein starter set tomorrow. Well, you know I want to sit rep on that. You know I want to sit rep on those Holbeins there. I'm sure probably they're the same, about the same as the Winsor Newton. There can't be that vast of a difference between them. But it just, I've never actually had a chance to use those myself, and I'm just, the curiosity kind of starts to get the better of you. You know what? Got a little bit of my, I mean, that's just the tiniest hint of a rust color here. And look, I too can make streaks after the fact too, not just when I was early on, but after the fact as well. Okay, right here on this top of this hatch here, look at that. That's very subtle. Very subtle, giving a little bit of a rusted whatever. I'm gonna throw some of this right here. Again, now if I had done this, I don't know, an hour ago maybe, 45 minutes ago, that just would have wiped that paint away. But see how it's just, it's blending instead of wiping it away. Big difference. It's a set of 12 paints, 10 mil tubes, less than $30. Yeah, I know. Who was it? Was it? Oh, it was Drax, right? We were trying to. Or no, it was Drew. It was Drew last night. We were trying to tell him that. Because I think he was trying to tell you about Home Depot and stuff. And I mean, you might have a Home Depot in Japan. I'm thinking not. So that was kind of a little bit humorous right there. So again, see that basically taking a little bit of my, I mean, that is the barest hint of a rust color there. And now what am I going to do? Mix all that together. Same here. So look at that. You can really see that now. Nice and smooth. Oh, we got a lady bee. Is Jinxed in here? Where is oh, there's Jinxed. Now folks, definitely give Jinxed a follow. Speaking of 2D art and all that kind of fun stuff, boy, you really snuck in here. I did not see you. That's poor. That's poor vision on my part. Sorry about that. Oh, look at this. So right there, I was able to smooth that puppy out real nice because I let that paint sit there. Oh, yeah. Now here's another little thing we can do. So we got our chips over here. We're just going to drag on these chips. Look at this. Look at this. That's more of a dry sort of blending brush. What's going to happen? Zoom. Look at that. Just took that chip and dragged it down just a hint. I'm going to do that right here on his hatch. Bam. Like so. Not too many of those. This right here, not liking that. We are just going to buff that right out of there, but we're also going to make it part of that toolbox color. Oh, look at that. And we just stain that right there. Completely stain that nice. Let's see, I wasn't going to disturb you mid-thought and say, Oh, an Italian who lives in Japan. And let's see, Nixel, looks like it came out of the Borderlands game. Now let's get a few lighter things. We haven't really done much in the way of... No, we're actually going to do a little bit of pin washes here. Again, trying out my little new brush right here. I want to see what that can do. Oh, look at that. Look at how it goes right along the edge of the vision slit there. Doing some fun things. So, oh, Jinx, are you going to be doing a stream later tonight? That's what I've been trying to spit out. Oh, thanks, Nixel. Appreciate that. You have no idea. Let's put it this way. When I did this, I was still doing Facebook Live. That's how long ago this was. So I'm thrilled to death to be able to do this. Well, and I'm just happy to have you guys with me here. Again, making my little brace here. So I got my vehicle here, finger on the thumb, and so we're just touching the brush there and let it go. That's that olive green mixed with a little bit of the umber. Touch it, done. That's it, no more fooling around with it. Oof, I think this even needs a little more. Put a little bit more thinner there, and we're just, look at this. Oh, look what that did. See how that capillary action moves? I mean, that's the tiniest of touches there. And then I can do something like this. Boom. Ah, look at that. Nice little streak right there. Little streak. Yeah. Can do those. That's your oil paint. Then we can even just darken that down. We'll grab our... Is that our blending brush? It is. Smooth this out. Remember, look at that hatch. Look at all the neat different colors going on here. That's just tan, right? Now she's gonna. Oh, you might finish the clicker. Well, I got some more oil paint. So yeah, go check out. You want to watch some more oils later on? Jinx will be doing her stream and painting a really wild bust. Doing lots of fun colors on that. And doing them with the oils. So go check that out later tonight for sure, folks. Yeah. A little bit of a panel line wash there. Pin line wash, sorry. It's not a panel line. It's still a pin line. You know what? I'm going to hit that too. Now, I'm tempted to just kind of wait on that and hit it with the weathering powder when it's dry, but I'm just gonna hit this with this ivory black, indigo, indigo blue here. A little bit of a glaze down in these vents here. Yeah, we'll just do that. Capillary action. Man, I just wish acrylics could do that. I really do. Ah, look at that. Just so easy. Acrylics just kind of sit on top. They don't actually get down in there. But the oils, no problem, baby. Absolutely no problem. And all that is wet oil paint over wet oil paint. You can do it. Back to that olive green. Another bit of a glaze that's going to happen here. Just going to pull this. Look at that. That is all wet oils over wet oils. We'll do it again over here. And then we've got some rivets. This is not quite as heavily riveted construction as, say, that Semavante doesn't actually have as much riveting as I thought it might. But the Italians really, they love their tiny tanks. It is driving me nuts, though, that I can't remember what historical documentary or some YouTube thing that I was watching, and they just, it was it had to be the Time Ghost Army, when they were joking about it, that FT-17 doing 40 miles an hour. I mean, that's literally like seeing a kid on a tricycle doing 50 miles an hour. I'm getting this a little bit lighter. I'm going to take some of my raw sienna here. And it's kind of on the thinner side. We need to, even though this is a really rough surface, again, this is a resin and metal vehicle here. The newer kits, definitely improvement over these old resin kits. Not just in the details and such, but more options. So you can make so many more vehicles out of just one. That's better. It's getting to be a little bit too dark there. Now we're going to go back in with some lighter tones here. Yeah, that's another rough spot on the hull, to say the least. Take our blending brush and do a little bit of blending there. And I might, now that I've got the, let's try a bit more of our, so this is our medium rust here. Get a little bit of that back out on the palette here. I just do a lighter rust effect on this, see what happens. Just find a steep hill. Oh yeah, 50 mile. You want to do the 50 mile? Don't you also need a jumping ramp at the end of that course? I think that would be appropriate for your 50 mile an hour tricycle ride of death. Let's see. I might finish that clicker. Saw that. Oh, stuff like the Citadel are very expensive here. I think we're all caught up. All caught up. Nope. I was tempted to add a little bit of my lighter rust on the back there, but no. It's weird. This is sneaky thick. That is sneaky. It's a little bit like the fluorescent paint that it seems so thin. How is it ever going to cover? So that's your AK-40, your AK Interactive, sorry. Now got to avoid the rust. Don't want to do the rust, but we are going to go into our Terra Rosa just a touch here. In this corner. And down in there. I will accede to just a few areas of rust. And then I notice in here we got nothing going on. We'll just put some in there real quick again with the oils, since there is still that initial glaze that's wet there. I actually could do a bit of blending there. We'll do the same on this side now. Does not take much paint at all. Not much whatsoever. And there we have it. Let's get a little more. That's going to be our yellow ochre. Lighten this up a bit. There we go. That's enough. Inside of the sprocket. Ooh, that corner needs some. And then I do, actually I'm going to get a little bit of the yellow here into some of this running gear. Because that got awful pale, awful, what would you say, just kind of burned out a bit. Just a little splash of color in here. Tiniest bit of tan. So we got a couple of, that's a weird, oh, there is a third. Okay. I was just thinking it was mighty weird to have only 2 return rollers here. It's like, okay. And none in the middle. Well, there is one there. It's just kind of covered by this. Oh, let's, I think we'll find a touch of lighter tones here. Let's, this is some of that stuff we were using on the initial colors on the hull itself. Speaking of which, I am going to get a little bit sneaky and go way back down in here and get some lighter colors on that hull. Speaking of which, also trying to give this oh, what is that, Da Vinci brush a little test here, kind of a durability test. How much of this kind of punishment can it take? Look, it's still able to do plenty of blending with those darker grays and then this fresher yellow that's coming in here. We still got our MiG ammo Berator color that we're going to put in a few places. What about this part of the gear? Also, I gotta remember, don't get too light with that, because if I do, then any sort of a sand that I put there is just not going to show up. I found a Dutch brake called Talons. Oh, wow. I've completely forgotten about them. That's a brand that I've heard of. Talent, oh my gosh. Maybe that's going back to watercolor days or something. But that brand sounds mighty darn familiar. Must be oil, or they must have a decent line of watercolors or something for me to remember it quite that dramatically. I need a little separation. Boy, that's tough. There's just too many freaking print lines there for me to deal with. So
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Dark Arcs, thank you so much for the follow. It is appreciated. I'm just having so much fun here getting back to my historical vehicles. Well, just historicals in general. It's been way too long. Way too long. Now, of course, had this been a year that was supposed to happen, I would have still been doing this. I just would have been doing this in Pennsylvania instead of here at the house, doing this at Historicon. And just for the folks that are new here and don't know, haven't seen this, tomorrow, probably starting at 2 p.m. Central. That's my goal. It could be 2:30 or even 3. It depends. But I want to be doing historicals just all day and into the night tomorrow. It's going to be a long, that's the plan anyway, is a very long Saturday extravaganza. Again, just going to look at that fun little streak that I was able to do right there. just because of wet oil paints. Like I said, we've got we'll be certainly working on our T38 or T28 more like what we're doing here. But I'm actually going to use some acrylics on that and potentially this too. I want to see what happens with this. But we'll see how this works again to give this kind of a winter wash to make it look a little bit more like this guy. And speaking of Soviet tanks, we've got our Su-85. We'll see if this, we'll do something like this again on here. But this might be with the weathering powders and rubbing alcohol version, because that's what was done here. And I want you guys to see how that works too. Oh, and of course some icicles, like what we've got on the barrels and such. Let's see. Hope get the. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it looks like they make the Van Gogh watercolors. Well, there you go. All right, explains everything. It explains it all. Oh yeah. Let's see. Let's not forget our French guy in anorak here, and we've got some of our Bersaglieri too. But let's maybe get to our tank commander here. I'm gonna see if I can push the limits of this brush here. I'm just testing something. Just just ignore me. I just want to see what happens with this. Okay, here's a little bit of my green. Oh, that sort of likes the oils. So this is a sable brush again. It's a Da Vinci, but Talon's. Yes, I have to go all the way back to the 1990s to dig that out of my brain. But let's see. Are those two the same scale? Yep. This is all 28 millimeter scale. So yeah.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow, Ildrandar. So the Italian philosophy was tiny tanks because they wanted these to be able to climb in the mountains, basically. They thought they were going to be fighting an Alpine war like they did in the First World War. You can see this is the PZ 38T, not that much bigger. This is early war. Well, this is actually a Czech tank. So when the Germans first did Sudetenland and then took the rest of Czechoslovakia, they took over all of their tanks, which meant taking all of the 38Ts and the 35Ts. And now here, this tank was known as the Steel Colossus. So that is the French Char-B there. And then actually this tank was more powerful than most of the German tanks. The problem was this one-man turret. That was the big problem. This was the big issue with a lot. Well, that and they didn't have radios in them. That didn't help either. It would have been very helpful to have radios. Oh, your hometown is in the Italian Alps. I've seen some remains of wartime. Well, yeah, they're just kind of frozen, literally frozen in time, aren't they? Literally frozen in time. Now, of course, this was a little different philosophy to tank design. Your wee little 35T. Here, let's just have this stroll right across the screen right here. It's still going. It's still going. There you go. Now the Germans actually had, I think, a 3-turreted tank. The Russians had a couple of 3-turret designs, and this is the madly insane 5-turret T-35. And by comparison, we've got some kitties here that we will work on. Most likely tomorrow we'll play with some of these. So a little ambush camo there. And then we've got one that might just be, again, more of a winter whitewash kind of a thing. We'll see. We shall see. So, here's my turret. Like, what happened to my turret with my tank commander? Okay, let's get some lighter skin tones on him now. I just want to see how thin can this brush go, even when it's thin. So, okay, all right, so I'm seeing what the limits are of this brush. It's It actually does a little bit better with acrylics than it does with oils. That's interesting. Usually it's the other way around. Very interesting. Well, it is a newer brush. We'll see. Maybe if it gets worn down a bit. I still got to see that Italian tank commander. I'm just thinking he's getting a dark color hat. So we're just going to give him a little darker color here on that hat. Just to, who knows, I may have to change it later, but oh, let's hit his binoculars here too. That's better. Let's go back here and give him some eyes, perhaps. Haven't done that yet. I think we've got to be thinning down our paint at this point. Remember, thinner paint over the thicker paint. Oh, yeah, that's it is a. I know it really freaks out people, especially the first time they see it. It's just, it seems like some kind of bizarre sorcery or something like that. Now those, I'll bring them back out again. Those crazy little, these guys here. Or I must have messed around with that pad. I just basically wiped out that pattern and put it back about 5 times in the space of 15 minutes. It was definitely not traditional layering. You can say that for sure. It is not terribly traditional. Here, let's get some lighter colors on his hands, shall we? And at this point, I'm going thinner, and if it doesn't stick, that means I got to go in the opposite direction. However, it is sticking, so going thinner was clearly the way to go. Let's get him a lighter ear, and I'm going to get some lighter colors over the top of his eyes here, maybe. Or darker colors, sorry. That's a little better. Let's get some darker tones in his mouth, and then a little separation between his shirt and his neck. A little white to be mixed with our yellow ochre in here for his uniform shirt. Let's see, wish you could do that base in oil and finish with acrylic. Well, yeah, I do that all the time. I think I point out a few of the figures that I've done that too. Yeah, I do that all the time. Remember the creature caster one that I was telling you about? I did it with that. Ooh, that's the other thing I've got to do here is do some of my, wow, how did I almost forget those? All my little rivets, that's where all my rivets are. They're all up here on the freaking turret. But yeah, just give me a second here and I'll show you a couple of things that were started in oils and finished in acrylics. So right here, oh, that's probably, I did maybe half of that with oils, then it dried, and then the rest of it, but no, not, when the oil is dry, then you can do acrylic over the top. When the acrylic is dry, you can do oil over the top. You can't do both at the same time. It's not really something you'd want to do anyways, because you're basically not taking the advantage of either one. The advantage of the oils is to be able to, like you see me doing, to do blendy stuff. Maybe the advantages of the acrylics is after everything is dry, you can just kind of work on one little area and it's dry. So all the skulls on the base, on his skull cloak, all of that was just done with acrylics after it dried. You just wait till it dries. There's no reason to be like working on the two at the same time. That's another reason still, or Nick's why I always recommend working on lots of things at the same time, right? Because we had him. We're working on 4 of these guys. We've got 2 Russians, and we've got ourselves our tank. Yeah, you just have to let it dry, and then you can go back in and do all the acrylics that you want to your heart's content, and it'll all be fine. But you can't do both at the same time. That's the one no-no that you will not be able to do. But as I said, there's no advantage to that at that point. There's no reason to do that. So we're just gonna pick out some of our little fun things here. We can still do a panel line wash afterwards, of course, or pin line wash. Either way you call it, I don't really care. Doesn't matter to me. This actually has to be a little bit thinner. Now those winter Americans that I showed you at the beginning, there was a point where I thought, okay, if I'm lucky, I'll be able to do... Oh, thank you for the cheer. Armored Wolf. Armored Wolf, he likes his little pretty diamond there. He's gonna eat some of those, but he gets chased away by the tank. Actually, he's never been chased away by a tank before. It's the first time Wappelius has been chased away by a tank. But thank you so much for the cheer. That is appreciated. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just gonna hit this right over here. So, oh geez, and hopefully you are recharged from that trip. I was really hoping, and I wasn't joking when I was thinking you're gonna end up on a missing persons report, and you're just still gonna be out there, and just not come back, because that sounded like it was just so fun and so relaxing. Here, let's pick out a couple. Now that we've got them darker, let's hit them with some lighter colors here. Yeah, just bring out a couple of those rivets. Look at that. That's all wet into wet. When people tell you you can't do that with oils, you just say, well, I kind of saw that. Yes, it can be done, because it's like I saw somebody doing that. There's just a weird thing about now people feel threatened by oils or whatever, and they have to cast shade on them for whatever reason. Not quite sure why. They'll tell you all these things you can't do with them. And yeah. Let's see. Playing with figures on stream, you could put mini plays while painting. Well, I am hoping. I have no idea when this will be possible, but I would like to be able to live stream games of Lord of the Rings and Bolt Action on Twitch. That's something I'm really hoping to do at some point. That's gonna require some kind of 100-foot long internet cable, pretty much, to be able to do that. Because no matter what, the terrain table's in the basement, and that's where it's just going to stay. It cannot come up here. There is no room for that. There's barely any room for it down there. So now I'm just going to pick up some lights here. Yep, Lady B, it has been all oils here. Now tomorrow we might do multimedia. We'll probably be doing some acrylics. We're probably going to be doing some weathering powders. We're going to be doing a whole lot of everything. We're also going to be testing some different snow techniques. Not snow techniques, snow mediums. So it's going to be a potpourri. I can't promise anything definite. It's all just going to be play it by ear. If it works out, yes. Otherwise, maybe we're just working with oils the whole time and maybe not getting to do a lot with the snow or whatever. It all depends. Yeah, let's get a couple of couple of brighter things here. I don't really necessarily want to do the shading of the chipping here, but we'll do a couple. Yeah, Iris, boy, that is, well, I instead of taking a bazillion years to be able to film, edit, render battle reports the standard way and get like 3 views, I would actually have way more fun, and actually it would take less time for me to just film it on Twitch, right? And just do the battle report on Twitch and then put it up that way instead of, oh my God, it took those 4 bolt-action battle reports. Each one of those took at least 14 hours to film and edit and render. That was insane. And yeah, they've gotten some decent amount of views, but still, for that much work for a battle report, that's a little bit much. Let's see, any sneak previews of future? Well, some things I can't actually talk about. There are some Kickstarter things that I can't actually talk about right now, and some other future products or from other companies that I can't quite talk about now. I will be doing army painting series on the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. I've got, well, my Sisters of Battle, of course. So this is another one of my army painting series here. We're going to be doing a bunch of Artisan Guild figures, lots of 3D printed stuff. Lots of 3D printed stuff. So you'll be seeing a lot of that here on the channel coming up. There's some other figures from Succubus that I'll be doing. It's a lot. Let's see, what is the other? Well, looking forward to doing some of the Necrons and some of the, what are the new elves? Lumineth, right? Gonna be doing some of those guys. I will be doing some more. Where'd you go? We'll be doing some more of the Stormcast for sure. Whole bunch of those, the undead dudes. What are they? Like the Night Haunt type stuff. We'll be doing some more of that. Yeah. Oh, there's a bunch of little rivets here. Let's get some of these rivets. No, it's definitely tempting. Unfortunately, some dice bags and Etsy orders have to be mailed out.
Who enters my domain?
Well, look at that, folks. We got Wicked Elf in the house, and Wicked Elf is actually responsible for what's going on right now, because that was where the invitation to head off to Historicon came from. So let's welcome in Wicked Elf. And if you're not already following Wicked Elf, you'll want to do that, because you might recognize that name. Why do you recognize that Wicked Elf name? Why, oh why might you recognize that name? Let's see if I can find some.
Spark my ganja.
Thank you for the follow, Shalafi. It's appreciated. So, Wicked Elf Miniatures, ye of the, yes, the vellum plants. Wicked Elf Miniatures. Oh, what do those look like when they're in use? They look like this. Look at those wonderful, look at these wonderful vellum plants. And yes, they are nice and rugged. You got ferns. Look at all those spectacular things. And we now have some very wonderful, speaking of wonderful new things, we have the seagrass and the kelp in hand. So we will definitely be using that. We've got some of those Artisan Guild figures I just told you about. That's where we're going to use some of the seagrass. We've got the, oh, what is that? The Naiads from Mantic. Oh, that's going to be great on those. Look at now see the rivets starting to come out there. Oh yeah, I was so glad those got here. It's nice that there's a couple of sizes too. Nice that there's a few sizes. I think there's going to be some fun stuff happening with those. I'm just going to pick up some, get some lighter areas here. back of the hull here. Let's get some of these rivets. We darken them down. Now we got to lighten some of them up. And yeah, this is one of the old resin Warlord vehicles, so I'm sure the new plastic version of this, the rivets are much easier to get to. We are going to give this a little touch of right here. See that? Highlighting underneath there. Just a little bit.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow, North Storm. That is appreciated. Now I get the Indomitus. That's it. Yes, yes, folks. So Necrons. Oh, and now we did the test earlier, right? Where we took some of the MIG ammo. We took some of this and we mixed it with the oil paints, and we were able to. Where the heck did that? Yeah. So we were able to get some very successful metallic oil paints there. So we're going to be doing that with the Necrons. And we're talking new Necrons, not the beat up, oh my gosh, not the eBay rescue Necrons. Holy smokes. Those things were mostly destroyed before I even got them. So it's going to be nice working on brand new, unsullied, undestroyed Necrons. That's going to be a treat. Oh, yes, Wicked Elf. Now, I was just telling them the last time. I've been saving this vehicle since I painted this on a Facebook Live. Remember how long ago those were? You remember how long ago that was? I've been saving this ever since then. Well, obviously, saving this for Historicon. I've been having a blast with this. We've got, well, I think tomorrow, as much as I love doing the oils and such, I really do want to show people like the whitewash, the winter wash technique, some of the snow stuff. So I might start out with that and then go to the oils or whatever. I'm probably, like I was telling you earlier, the plan is to start around 2 o'clock tomorrow. It could be delayed depending on some factors, but I am intending on being live tomorrow, so don't miss it tomorrow. Look at this. Is so much fun. Painting this in oils. It's just a dream. It's an absolute dream. I would like to paint that one big kitty though in oils, and the T-28. Still not quite sure. Going back and forth on that. Oh, let's see. Wait, Necrons that aren't 20th exist? Well, that's the Shalafi. That's those the new Necrons in the Indomitus box. Now, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, the rescue Necrons, that would be these guys here. That's those guys. They were. You have no idea what horrible condition those were in. Just to be able to get primer on those took a superhuman effort. Good Lord, those were messed up. But we were able to get them enough so that we could, do some stuff with them. Am I gonna do the same basing on them? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. You know what I'm gonna play with here, just for the heck of it. I'm gonna push this thing to the side. What I'd like to play with. Where did it go? Not the moss deposit. I'm just going to mess around with this and see, because we've been pushing the limits here. I just want to see what happens if I do this a little bit of wet into wet. So what we're going to do here, if I can grab these without dropping them all over the place. This is actually something I didn't have before when I wanted to do things like this. So these are little watercolor do thingies. Now there's a very technical paint term, do thingy. You can use that. It's like copyright free. Let's see, Dark Wolf needs to order the Indomitus. Yeah, I guess. Well, now you can do that. So just like There we go. Let's, that's really stuck on there. Holy smokes. There we go. Okay. So just like we do with our, our contrast paints, I'm just going to dump some of this in here. Just stick that over there, and well, let's see what happens. I have no idea. That's a little bit too much of a gray, but we're gonna see what happens. We're putting this over wet oil paint because who cares? I got my treads right here. I want to see what happens with the tread. So what I'm looking for. Oh gosh, which one is it? It's not that one. Not that one. Aha! See that? See that lighter effect there in the crevices, especially on the treads. I want to see if it's going to do that. And look at that. See on the Jagdpanzer over there. I want to see if that can be done in some of our shadow areas. But I want to see if it can be done wet into wet. So let's play. Let's play. I have no idea what's going to happen here. This is hilarious. We're going to do it like a pin line wash. Ah, look at how that just kind of creeps in there. I actually want a smaller, but where's that Da Vinci brush? We'll use that one. I think we're going to use this brush here. Oh, I'm just going to let that seep in there. See what happens. Because why not? Hashtag why not? Now if I feel like that's just too light of a sandy color, well, I just take some of my other stuff, throw it in there. For sure, I'm thinking here. Geez, I could actually thin this down more if I wanted to get more capillary action going on. See, we're just kind of trying to get our sandy color down in here. Let me see. Steel asks if you clean oil brushes with rubbing alcohol. Yeah. Now, of course, this is a wee bit harder to find these days. This stuff actually works pretty darn well, and it works really good for acrylics too. And this was not expensive. I just got this on Amazon, and it's worked really well. This is very effective actually for cleaning brushes. So I'd say give it a try. Just like I said, just got it on Amazon. No big deal. I'm gonna just get a little bit of this here in between your pin that holds your track links together. See if I can get some down into here too. So very curious. Okay, I'm gonna this is just straight up, basically, white. Oh, that's nice. So I see we gotta use them both kind of in concert here. Ah, ooh, look at how that just boosted capillary action. Look at that. Look at what that just did. Yeah, look at, see, it's kind of blending with what's there, but not necessarily blending a lot. So we're going to do that. Oh, it's going to pop that. Oh, look at that. Look at how that just spread out there. Look at how that just spread out. That is so cool. Yeah. Very fun. And that's over wet oil paint. I'm not kidding you. That is all just wet oil paint there. Continue the rest of our tread back here, and I don't want to necessarily lose all the light tones there, so important to keep some of that dark shading there. Otherwise, well, we'll have to make our lights, our lighter areas darker then. And kind of what was the point of doing everything that we did before? Now this should be interesting up here. Okay. So it actually took, I had to add my thinner to that to give it that extra capillary action. So this by itself does not have quite as much capillary action. As thin as it was coming out of the container, I don't know. I think when I first started using this stuff years ago, I had no idea. Wow, look at how that almost seems like it's dry. And it was as wet as this. This is that rust here. Okay, I want to do something here. So I'm going to take this. I want to see what happens when we try and push this around. We got this rust right over here. Oh, very nice. Very nice. So that's again, that's another AK product right there. Remember, we mixed that with a touch of our Terra Rosa to get a bit of a, wow, okay. So that's, I think that was a successful test. Let's continue on with this side here. Again, I'm going to dip into my white spirits there. This is where it's going to get tricky here. This is where it's going to get interesting. So I'm targeting this area. Right, so look at that. See how that's that little line that it's making? I'm going to get a little more of my white spirits here. Look at that. I've got to leave that. I can't just keep poking away at it. But the idea is that that's the sand, which has just kind of settled down into that little crevice there. This doesn't have quite so many of the nifty crevices as, say, that Crusader did. Ah, look at that. Okay, I'm going to add a double down on that with a little more. So see that? Look what we just did there. Yes, we're weathering this. Wet into wet, baby. Uh-huh. Look at that. It can be done. Now, if you had asked me 3 years ago when I first started doing that, I would have told you, I don't think so. I don't think you can do that. But now it's like, yes, you can. Oh, look at this. Because we got dark enough in there, now you can see it. Now you see it. And then we're going just, oh, yeah, I don't even think even a couple years ago I would have tried doing that. Look at that. So that's some of that dust that I just pulled out there. And so I bring this up just because for you guys it's going to be the same way. Here, let's get a little bit of sand.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Around some of these rivets as we welcome in. Oh, thank you, Dark Wolf, for the follow. That is appreciated. Ah, here's a couple of great areas for it. Okay, this one right here. Back into my little touch of my white spirits and there. See that? Now we can just take that brush and scumble it away. Look at I'm left behind with there. See that nice little line? That lighter line down there in the what would normally be a shadow area is not a shadow area anymore. Up there, not so much. Oh, back here perhaps. So some of my thinner, my white spirits to make sure that capillary action does just that. That's what I'm looking for. Actually, I might, so that's kind of pre-moist in there. I'm going to throw some more. So that's a plan. That's a plan. We'll do that some more over here. Over right in this area here. So we're just going to look at how far that just spread. And now that the moisture is already there, bam. Double down on that a bit here. Maybe, definitely over here. Oh yeah. Let's get some more of this. I suppose if this was a little darker, it would show up more. And by darker, I mean my whole color. But hey, that's not too bad right there. It's still showing up. So again, we're going to get some moisture in it. Look at how that just travels right along here. We'll do the same over here. What the heck? Let's go crazy with our dust in this one spot. Like really nutsoid here. See that nifty lighter, basically lighter in the shadows. Woof. I'm already pulling away some of my rust here, so I gotta to tread a little more carefully there. No pun intended. Or was there? Who knows? Maybe we have oh, this is another place. So we got these darker rivets over here. This is not a bad place. Let's do a pin line wash around the darker rivets and let those show up as darker with this basically outlined in this lighter color here. We've got a return rotor, or now I'm gonna just say that's got to be a return rotor there. So we need some dust in the spare wheel, basically dividing that in half over there. There, so that's okay. We got some dust on that. Let's go some more over here too. Ah, look at that. So it's not always, especially on a desert vehicle like that, doesn't have to be always dark in the crevice. I'm going to throw a little bit of the dust to this area too, if I can. Taking a little bit of my thinner again, so I can just again drop some of that right there. How's about on this wheel? We haven't done anything on this side actually, so we're gonna bring it again. That's our sand effect there. I think it's doing, and it dries nice and matte, I would say. Hey, we got Gray Ghost in the house. How are you doing? I am just absolutely enjoying the fact that I can do some historicals again for the first time in forever. We're starting to experiment with a couple of 8K materials here. I just want to see what happens. Because normally what I would do is I'd take something after this would dry, something like this, is a sandy type color, mix it with rubbing alcohol, as that has a high capillary action rate to it, and do the same thing that we're doing here, just with rubbing alcohol. And the idea behind what we're doing here is just basically getting sand, or what is supposed to look like sand, just kind of settle down into all of our little nooks and crannies here, utilizing mass amounts of capillary action. Like mass amounts. Now you can see why we left this stuff dark down here, because as I do this, look what starts to emerge. Our road wheels here. Again, can't do too much of that. We'll lose all of our shape, but a little bit, not a bad thing. And I can still, let's say, after this dries, I could go in with maybe some watered down Luke's APS glue and throw some actual sand in there. And I'll show you what I mean. Or hummus, as like Nestor was saying. It's I'll show you the containers in just a bit here. I just want to keep my little run going here. So that is just a bunch of my thinner. to kind of get things going. And then we'll drop in our, this is again from AK, it's their Africa Dust Effects. That's what that is. Couple more shots here on our treads up on top. I don't want to make these completely light, but here, look, we got chipping on the side there. That means I can probably get away with some of my lighter sand effects over here. Let's see how it's this right here. There you go, Africa Dust Effects. Is Cosplaying Kitten in the house? Hey there. Folks, definitely be sure to give Cosplaying Kitten a follow if you're not already doing so. Did I see earlier today that you were live probably about, what, 6 o'clock-ish or so, between 4 and 6, something like that? I didn't even get to see what you were streaming. Was it more illustration, or was it some miniature painting? But again, sorry if I missed that earlier. I was very busy getting set up for this weekend-long historical extravaganza. I doubled down on my very wet, sandy stuff here. It is making a nice little contrast to the rust on the exhaust. I gotta say that. Ooh, here's another area that might be fun to have some of this. There we go. Again, this is gonna put in some of the sand here, letting that do its thing. Now, I think, is this the one? Yeah. So, arid earth base ready. That could be very interesting. I think basically on top of the vehicle, mixed with maybe some fine sand or whatever. That might not be too horrible. And actually, this is really neat. This Mediterranean stuff. I got to give this a shot too. Mediterranean soil. So when I do Operation Husky, yeah, you'll be seeing that on the bases there. That's pretty fun. So again, it's from Luke's APS, and if you're in the U.S., you just get that from Footsore North America. I'll put these things back before I lose track of where they go. Ooh, interesting. It's also mixing a little bit with my paint that's there, which is kind of neat. So it means I can do actually a little second round of this. Let me see. Not today. Oh, it must have been yesterday then. Because I know it was. I just seem to remember that you were just streaming. Maybe that was yesterday. And again, I'm losing my mind, so who knows? It could have been last week. It could already be next week. Maybe it's not even Saturday. Well, it's actually not going to be Saturday for very long. It's 10:38 here. Gee whiz, how 4.5 hours flies. We've actually been doing this for 4.5 hours. Who'd have thought one could have so much fun with historicals? They have no concept of the passage of time. What do we need to? I'm so tempted. There's a couple of vision slits back there. No, we won't do that. However, I am going to chuck a little bit of that right over here. Wow, this is kind of interesting. So there must not be as much thinner in this as I thought there might have been. So I'm kind of treating this as some sand over here. Not necessarily as paint, but as sand. Because again, what we're trying to replicate, is it this one? Ah, there we go. So that's, you're getting a little bit of an idea of what it is that we are trying to replicate there. And that was done with the weathering powders, if you're wondering. So that is the effect that we are after. I can see that it's a little bit more on the whitish side and not so much on the yellow. Let's see what happens if we do the same over here. Again, I'm going to take some of my thinner so I get even more capillary action there, and then always do another layer. Now see, we've got these rivets here. Look what's happening around those rivets. Those are darker. That's a fun little thing to do with rivet. I mean, this could be an Imperial Guard. Was it Talarn Desert Raiders or something like that? Oh, Lord Wedge, but it's Friday. Oh, it is Friday. Yeah. Never mind. See? Didn't I tell you I had no clue what freaking day it was? Did I not tell you that? Thank you for the update, though, as Cosplaying Kitten Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday. Well, every day is Wappel Day. I'm not quite sure why I thought today was Saturday. Kathy did do her stream earlier today. Just losing my mind. You know what? I'm going to just let a little more of that get down again into that crevice right there. I think we're going to just risk getting some more into here. And some of that up there. I could just wait on this and do it with the weathering powders like I would normally do it, but I mean, experimentation is the key. I wouldn't know if I didn't experiment. Oh, we got to get some of this back here. So we'll just, again, take some of our white spirits, some of the AK Interactive. Yeah, but you scared you, all of you, as you thought you lost today. Yeah, I was just excited to play with the tanks. I'm just looking at how, so this was the same, this was the rust here, and how that is just really, it's lost all that sheen so quickly. Very cool. I'm not going to experiment with the moss, however, on my desert vehicle. I think that I can take a pass on. Not going to do that. Like I said, I was even thinking of potentially, what was it, mixing some sand and some of Luke's APS glue and chucking that in the treads here. For texture. Hey, nothing says I can't do that after all this stuff is dry. Because why not? But look what that's doing. See how you've got that lighter ring around the rivets right there, ring around the rivets. I might also do a second round of getting some sand in here. I'm not going to put any of this on the turret because there's really nowhere for it to just kind of collect, no obvious place. I mean, that's a freaking tiny little turret, so we won't do that. Again, I'm going to let some of that be darker still here. Now, I can't lose a day, I can only gain a day as I'm on the other side of the international date line. Well, like I said, at some point, there is a goal to be able to do some bolt action live on Twitch and Lord of the Rings. I mean, just imagine the anticipation when that order dice is getting pulled. Yeah, that could be very fun. I'm gonna get a little bit more of my. Again, it's right along this little edge here. Gotta. Oh, this is another reason why I'm using the liner brush instead of a spotter brush. That's why I wanted these. They're sable, yes. Also a liner brush also means more paint in here. Means more paint out here. More capillary action out here. More paint out here. So by virtue of having that dark over there, that's what's letting this nice new sandy color emerge. So, oh, I got another tread. That's mostly just thinner right there, not a whole lot of the sand effects. Doesn't always have to be punch in the face. This is some of that raw sienna we put with a little touch of the yellow ochre. I'm going to blend that a bit. And now that I've already got some of the... So I'll just kind of reinforce some of that. Not everywhere, just in some of these. Some of the track links. You're on Wappel time. Everybody's on Wappel time now. Oh, let's see. But they can see, can't you? That is one of those myths that is... well, let's put it this way. How long have synthetic brushes been in existence? How long have sable brushes been in existence? I mean, natural hair bristles. Painters have been using sables and oils for centuries. They've been using natural hair brushes and oils for centuries, and nothing's happening to the brushes. What's worse, the worst thing for your brushes is acrylic paint. Why? Because this garbage gets down into the ferrule and it stays there. This is what messes up your brushes. What's harsh, less harsh on your brushes is oil paints right here. Believe me, because I've been using oil paints for 40 years. And I have brushes that I used in the 1990s that I used with oils, and they are still fine today. So yeah, that's the brushes that I used for watercolors. Those are okay. Anything that I used for acrylics, lucky if it lasted a year. Acrylic paints are the nastiest thing for your brushes. And the key operative phrase is that everything is true on the internet. That's essentially people that either haven't used them, or let's just say maybe they have a vested interest in scaring people away from using oils because that's getting to be a thing now. Look at how this is spreading out. Yes. We're starting to see that. Look over here. We got that nice rich dark over there. Jinx has to get going. Folks, later tonight, Jinx will be working in oils too, so make sure you check her out. Be sure you already gave her a follow so that you get that alert. But I'll catch you later. Saturday, 1:43. Yeah, I'm so used to gauging Australian time, well, Melbourne time, by early morning, like wee hours here. So yeah, I'm just like, I'm used to it. Okay, 2:30 in the morning here. You know, what is it going to be over in Melbourne? Because, well, as you can see, you know, boom, right there, 1:48 in Melbourne. Which, I guess that footy is back on again. I don't know if footy is being played in empty stadiums or not, but I'm thinking that the AFL is back online. Lady B knows that for sure. Because I know you were telling me the last time when I asked for the update on that, but I wasn't sure if things had changed. So we're doing some of this around our, look at this, around those track pins. Look at that. It may require just a touch of my thinner here to get more capillary action going on. Okay, we've got our, now this is, okay, this is something interesting here. So we've done all of our lighter stuff, yeah, whatever. Now, if we think we've lost too much shape there, what do we do? Well, we'll go back in here. We'll grab a little bit of our olive green, maybe. Some of this. Let's do this. Look, I just see how I'm going with some darker tone over the top of this. Look at that. So look what just happened here. See how much more interesting that just got? Instead of all just an endless sea of white or lighter color, and now my sand color, look at that. I just got some separation right there. Do we need to do something similar over here? I think we do. I'm going to do that same thing over here. Then we're going to grab a little bit of our raw sienna here. Go back in. So yeah, that was the first time I heard that. I thought, this can't be someone who's ever used oil paints would write that on wherever they would write something like that. It's just, I was, like I said, I was 11 years old, and I don't know if I had sable brushes then, but certainly by the time I got into high school, I was using sable brushes with oil paints. Oh, we need to get some darker stuff in here too. Just some separate. Oh, that's another place actually where, boy, now I know why I was not gonna do those lighter rivets. So I'm just gonna cover those back up again, and I'm just gonna go in there with my newly found wonderful sandy wash there. Okay, there's the other thing too. So you can see we've got a little bit of a, just kind of a line developing there. What are we going to do? We're just going to go after that a little bit here with our blending brush. If I see any more funky little areas like that, I can also deal with those, but here's one. I don't know if you can see it right there. Just kind of fade that out. We got a little bit of a dot right there. That's gone. I'm going to go back in. Here it is. I better clean up the darker paint there. Almost forgot that. We are just going to really go big time here. Let's see. Gray Ghost failed preschool finger painting, but never gave up. Actually, what was it? It was kindergarten, whatever it was. I remember getting in trouble. Well, I guess I was supposed to be playing with blocks or whatever, but at the time I was trying to draw stairs in perspective, like the way I saw them, not the little stair step pattern, like you're taught as a wee youngster. And I was getting frustrated as all heck because I couldn't. Well, most 5-year-olds don't know what perspective is, so yeah, that didn't go so well. Maybe if I did, look at that. Okay, there's a hint of dust there. Kind of separates my chipping there a little bit. That wasn't a bad idea. There we go. Now, somewhere in this house, and I know it's around because I could swear I was looking at it like every day for quite a while. It's a painting of a ship. It was an oil painting. And I had to have been maybe 13 years old or something like that when I did that darn thing. It's around here somewhere. I gotta find it. I'm just gonna kind of piling up some sand right here. It is very similar to the colors that are already out there. And again, this is all wet over wet. Absolutely none of this is dry. If I took a sponge to this, like the makeup sponge, I could wipe every last bit of this off of here. I'm not going to do that. I am going to put another round of that there now that I've got that darker color. So again, it's that little bit of a modification sometimes that is very helpful. Yeah, that the sable brush, they love the oil so much. Because remember, we've got our, where's our little one hair brushes here? Yeah. So this brush is totally destroyed by acrylics, but yet the oils love it, or it loves the oils. It basically came back to life. It was a brush I was gonna have to throw away. It's gonna grab me something to drink real quick here. So sorry. Just needed a little something there. Ooh, that would be interesting. I was tempted almost to put a little bit of the green in this just to see what the heck would happen. We got W redeemed. Oh, he wants to see Wappelville. All right, so we will just gonna finish our little bit of our sandy dust here, and we'll head over to what. Speaking of sand and dust, let's head on over to Wappelville here. It's gonna take a while to get there, but when you get there, you will see. Here it is, your town of Wappelville. This was the first time I'd done non-sci-fi, non-high fantasy. This is the first kind of steampunk stuff I'd ever done. Never done any kind of Western stuff before. And all that terrain there, that is all MDF terrain. So there's even a better view. You got your jail, you got your church, you got your train station to the right. You've got the Undertaker's house, and see that pink building? That's Le Flamant Rose. That would be your house of horizontal refreshment. There's a better look at the train station. There is your water tower. All right. A little better look at the town. You can see some of the lawmen featured right there. All those little gravestone things. Actually, if you want to see all this stuff, head over to the blog, wappeliusblogspot.com, www. Actually, those terrain pieces in the front, I've actually modified those for now bolt action. But speaking of tanks, look at that. And man, it would have been so much easier doing these in oils. Holy smokes, that would have taken half the freaking time. And actually, here's some of the Dark Nation on the right, and that's Warrior Nation on the left. That's actually Sitting Bull there with the glowing weapons. Now, I actually have some miniatures here, too. Here we go. So this was from the Holy Orders faction. Now you've seen me do the Sculpey basing, right? So here's another example of that marble basing. A little bit of a spacescape on the robe there. Now this is an example. I'm sure he's not around, but earlier there was a question about fluorescent paints, right? Well, fluorescent blue. That wasn't actually this fluorescent blue. It was the Vallejo. But all of this blue was enhanced just by adding this to it. Does it make it as glowy? Maybe. But the idea is it just makes the color a little more intense. Let's see if we can. I want you to see some of the basing here. Here we go. So just bear with me here while we dig a couple of these out. So you've seen these. Where do you think I got the idea from all my little sneaky snakes? That was actually doing some of this Wild West Exodus stuff. That's just a little rug that I printed out. That's one of the Wayward 8 there. And then, of course, we have one of the Worcester sisters with their little pets. Actually, their pets got to be not so little. Here's another. Oh, this is a very fun one. So that MDF terrain, I basically just took the leftover bits that you pop out, windows and doors or whatever, and I just made little bases out of them. Very fun. So there's a quick little tour of Wappelville for you. Oh, here's another. Again, that's just a little plastic gear on top of MDF pieces. So there's your virtual tour and physical tour of Wappelville. Now I might bring up the lightness a little bit on that. We'll make sure we got some decent focus for you here. Let's maybe add some darks. Now I'm going to actually add some more of this. That's some more of our light sandy stuff. A little more of our light sandy. There we go. Look at that. Get that stuck down in that return rotor real nice. A little more sand even. Why not? This is like a third layer of it in some places. It's not dry or anything like that. It just is kind of settled in place. I'm just going to get my other brush here for a little bit of blending. So see what we got sitting right there? It's just kind of a line. We don't necessarily want a line there. So just going to make that a little more irregular. Any other spots that call for the same thing? What about up here on these return rollers here? Okay. Oh, gee whiz. How did I not see this? Good grief. This whole thing in here has got to get some of this sand. How did I not see that? I spaced on that. There we go. And that means I got to do it on the other side too. My goodness. Completely forgot about this. How would that not get a bunch of sand in it? That's better. Ooh, I might need to do the same up here. We'll do a little bit of that. Not too much. There's also some air bubbles in the resin, so we're not going to do too much of that at all up there. We are going to hit this. Let's do some more just back here. Maybe even in between. Let's see. Have you any ideas as to weathering a green tank in a desert? It would be the same as this. It would be sun bleaching, chipping, sandblasting, and I'd be doing the same stuff that I'm doing here, except it would just show up a lot more. Well, I mean, take a look at the Crusader, because it has that that special camo on it. One more. So see, look at. So there's your green. Right there, that kind of dark green. You see we got our chipping on there. You can see we got a little bit of streaking on that, but look at the sandy color. See how that sand is down in the wheels and down in the treads there? Same exact thing. You can see how we lightened some of the rivets the same way. There we go. We're back here now. I really wish I had these little watercolor container things way back in the day when I was doing much more with these kind of things. Oh, it would have been so much easier. Now, I don't think I'm going to have any time, but I know I have some Lees. I don't know if I have any. Well, I have some Matildas, but they are all pretty much for early war Brits, for Fall of France kind of a campaign, not necessarily for a North Africa. But yeah, if you're looking to weather a green V, I'll do it all the same things. Obviously, there's not going to be any rust or streaks, or minimal. If there is any, it is minimal. Oh, speaking of which, I need to get some sand even here. Yes, there's rust there, but yes, there should be some sand. Let's get some sand into here. Let's do some more on this side over here. Again, I might need to assist the capillary action there with a touch of the thinner and white spirits. A lot of it? No, it doesn't have to be a lot of it. Enough to keep it flowing. Same on this side as it gets down into the darker areas here of the exhaust. Trying to get some of that sand trapped back there, but I also have to think, well, we want some soot too. Okay, not going to do the sandy thing up there because we would prefer to have that be more of your fuel stains. And now I'm starting to think of this as my vehicle color. No, it's my sand, but hey, that means I did pretty good on my sand color of the vehicle. If the actual sand kind of disappears, hey, that's pretty darn good camouflage. I think that's about layer number 4 there. Since it does, I don't want to say it dries quickly, but it sets up quickly enough. Again, I'm just picking out some of those track pins here and there. Don't want it to be too noticeable. Oh, Willie the Rat. Let's see. Well, you need to matte coat to take the shine off the oils. Actually, when they dry, they are no longer shiny because actually this was done with oils. And I can show you a couple other things here done with oils, and there's no varnish or anything on these. So those were both painted in oils, and you can see there's no more shiny there. Angry Ham in the house. How are you doing? And actually, this one, I think you can still watch this VOD right here. And as you can see, there's no shiny on there anymore. It was shiny when it was wet, but now not shiny anymore. And you can rub it, do all the stuff to it, nothing happens to it. And we've got a couple of our Rohan here, like so. And again, these guys, you can see there's no shiny on them either. You just gotta let them dry. Now, I do have to say, I am using this is my own kind of blend here with the oil paint mixed with my thinner. And it's also on my palette over here. We haven't talked about the palette in a while. Let's do that real quick here. I always have this on hand. So this is the same parchment paper. Yeah, I'm right there with the Angry Ham. And then this is just a piece of cardboard. All I do is I do some, some glue stick, right? Get these attached. What this does is it actually soaks up a little bit of the moisture, because look at this. Some of that's actually dry on there. And that's after just a few hours. Then when you're done, you peel this off, you stick the next one on here. So I'm going to actually show a couple of other, so that maybe folks haven't seen this in a while. This was the very first army of any kind that I painted with the oils. Yes, I did the Winter Americans, but that didn't really count because maybe 40-50% of it was painted with oils. These were painted entirely with oils. This is the very first thing. Again, 40-45% of those painted with the oils. This was all acrylics because I only had a few days, and that all had to be dry. You don't want to be using a wet palette oils, WW. That is that's for acrylics, and we'll just call this a dry palette. Dry palette for oils, wet palette for acrylics. Easy enough to remember. Now, actually, one of those was painted in oils, one in acrylic, and one in weathering powders. The Crusader was painted in oils. The Panzerjäger painted in weathering powders. Actually, those were acrylics on the Winter Germans there. The British here was a mix of a whole bunch of different things. Matilda's painted in oils. Some of the Brits painted in oils. Yeah, that Matilda actually got the tank shock somebody. Now, there's the Bridge to Nouvion. that was I think the last battle report that I did for Bolt Action. And there's some of my early war French, and there is the most recent army that was completed. That is the Monte Cassino Fallschirmjäger army. So we're back to our vehicle here. Whoops, wrong brush. And I'm really, I do kind of like what that is doing down in our little crevices right there. So yeah, I'll show you. Where's my wet palette here? Okay, so wet palette, Chinese food container, right? And you'll probably be seeing this tomorrow. So here you go. That same piece of parchment paper, however, it's stuck to a piece of, well, not stuck to, but it's sitting on a chamois sponge like this right here. Chamois sponge. Water in the sponge. Yeah, you don't want a wet palette with oils. But as you can see, look at our contrast paint. That's from a couple days ago. That's still good in there. And like I said, these Chinese food containers, they're designed to keep things from going bad or stale or whatever. So they will certainly keep your paints nice and wet. You know, just reinforcing a little bit of this in between those track links just because, for the heck of it. A little more here. Oh, okay, let's get some more down here on our, not just on our treads, but in here and down here. So let's have some fun here with let's just blend some paint with this. Why don't we? Just have some fun with this, go crazy. Here's our blending brush. Like so. I'm not going to spatter this. Not going to spatter this because, well, it's not mud. But we are going to do a little bit of painting with it. And a little stippling there. Back to my, see, I got some road wheels right here. We need to definitely get those, a little bit of our sandy effect here. And that's really handy because instead of painting all that detail and stuff down there, just chuck in a little bit of my sandy mixer. So look what's happening back here. Gotta take some of my white spirits here. Capillary action, bang. Seconds. Did it even take seconds for that to happen? I don't think so. I don't think so. And we're using a little AK Interactive here on our treads. Do I need some more here? Boy, that's just that whole shape there is just kind of rough. I'm going to spread some of this sand out over here. Again, all wet oil paints, I can move it around all that I like. So we've got our streaking up here. We want some more of our sand going on up here. Maybe. And sometimes it doesn't have to be everywhere. I was just about to drop some over there, and I thought, nah, let's not do that. I will try and drop some more over here, though. Take some of that away, and then we're just going to stipple that the same way. I'm tempted to drop some up here now. See how well that works. Then a little bit of my thinner. Kind of completes the capillary. Look at that. Nice little bit of sand kind of sitting up there. That's why we left that dark. Remember the chess game? The chess match? No dark, no light. That sand does get everywhere. I guess that, well, now, let's see. I'd completely forgotten. It's been so long since I got a chance to see my historical stuff. Then I have an unopened box of plastic DAK, and that's going to be, I'm really looking forward to doing that. And obviously doing those in oils, just like we've been messing around with our Bersaglieri here and our Italian vehicle. So again, that stands out because of the dark that we have there. Is there a texture medium? It doesn't look that way. It really doesn't look that way. Mix this. Yeah, it's if it does, it's really, really fine. Now, like I was saying a little bit ago, is this my Mediterranean or is this okay, so this is the arid earth base ready. So this is from AK Interactive. Is hey Yesik, how are you doing? So I might just, after all this is dry, I might throw in a couple of these in a few places, like up on the hull, so it's not just sand but maybe a little bit more than just the sand. So yeah, I do now have actually a gallon of 99% alcohol there, so maybe next week I can do some more printing. I want to get that one dragon file printed, that big giant dragon that I was telling you about from Gamak. I'd really like to get that one printed because that could just be very fun. I just, after having that failure like that, I'm going to do some streaks with this. Yeah. So this is actually the sandy stuff here. We're going to just do some streaks with this. Yeah, that's kind of fun there. Actually, it'd be really fun, this thing, to be able to print out vehicles, and not in the not on the spool printer either, but on the resin printer. That would be really sweet. Now, not so much that I would need 1 billion tanks, but actually for making those ruined tanks, that would be much more interesting. Failures can be soul crushing. Let's see, I have a huge amount of glacial silt. How fine is that glacial silt? I'm thinking that could be really fine. That could be super fine. Or does it have some variety to it? Now, well, you definitely have my interest peaked. Okay, over here, not quite sure about that. We are just going to take our blending brush here. And we'll just get rid of it. Actually, no, we'll just incorporate. Look at that. Oh, look at that subtle little thing we got going on right there. Let's see. Is the alcohol for resin cleanup? Corvus asks. Yeah, that's for the 3D printing. I suppose I could, if I'm really desperate enough, I could use it for cleaning stuff like the weathering powders and such out of the brushes. But yeah, that's for ye old 3D printing. And I apologize. I got all of my 3D prints sitting downstairs. But oh, Yesik, I think I told you about the. I don't have any clients who do tanks other than the Cyberpunk. Well, there's Thingiverse. However, I would have to, I'm sure, learn how to do the supports myself, because I can't imagine there's any good Thingiverse tanks. Now, Shapeways, they have some tanks, but I don't even know if they even sell you the STLs. I doubt that. It's been a long time since I last. Actually, I do have some Shapeways vehicles here, but they printed them out for me a long time ago, years ago. Finer than most sand, it's pulverized rock from glacier formation and movement. Well, actually, now I'm really curious, because boy, finding that real fine sand, that's not always easy. That's not always. Oh, this is speaking of sand here. There is a little textural difference, not so much that it's like a sandy thing, but it is raised up a bit there. Let's see, have you tried a degreaser like Mean Green? Print literally thousands of minis and use it exclusively. Uh, you know what, Corvus, I completely forgot I have an ultrasonic cleaner. Yeah, there was so much confusion in the early days, I completely forgot I got an ultrasonic freaking cleaner. But now I do have this really sweet sort of rotating carousel and a UV light. And what's wild is that the UV light actually powers the carousel. It's like, where's the batteries for this thing? And geez, batteries are going to run out. And then I saw the little panels on it, like the solar panels. So yeah, that was, I'll have to see how that sonic cleaner works. I haven't even taken it out of the box yet. Well, the other thing I still need, I still don't have strainers. I think I got one strainer left, which means, any failures, and they're bound to happen, any failures whatsoever, then I'm just kind of shut down until I can get more strainers. I'm curious to see what effect the new resin has, because I was reusing a lot of that resin. There was a number of failures and cleanups and reusing of the resin. We're just cleaning up our barrel here. There. Actually, this might be a Perry Brothers. Now that I'm thinking, this might be Perry Brothers instead of, or no, either Perry Brothers or Blitzkrieg. WW, what do you think of using the... I've never actually used any of the bicarb stuff, not even for snow. I have had some, well, actually what I've done for sand usually is actually just taking the weathering powders and mixing it with a little bit of the oil paints, or mixing that with a little bit of paint, just even regular acrylic paints, and you actually do get some very interesting, you actually do get a little bit of texture out of it. So now this is not the sandy stuff, that's just regular paint right there. And we're just letting that mix in right over here on that toolbox. I'm just going to mess with these a little bit right here. Get rid of some of those chips. You don't need quite that many. Now when it comes, let's see if I've got some, so again, let's look at some different weathering going on. So, some leaves there, but your kind of your classic mud spatter and such there. And this was another one, so that was actually weathering powders mixed with paint. Right there, doing all that. That was very fun. And this was a few different types of snow techniques right here. So we're going to be trying this again, I think, tomorrow. Don't put alcohol in an ultrasonic. That is dangerous. Here we go. This guy. So we got the SU85 here. I think that is something we're going to play with tomorrow, is some of the winter whitewash. And do that. Crushed soft pastels as weathering. I have tried that, and I did not like them in comparison to these. These just had much more sticking power, and they didn't clump up quite so much. I mean, you know me. Grey Ghost, you know how much I love my pastels, and I've got plenty of them around still. Let's see, where's my 2D art? Ah, here we go. There we go. Yeah, hey, love me some pastels. But yeah, they're not. Maybe it's just the Cenolate pastels and the Rembrandt pastels. But I tried doing that. I tried crushing them up and using them, and they didn't quite do what I was hoping they would do. Again, every pastel is different, so who knows? Maybe it's just certain pastels do that better than others. Now I'm going to go back here. I want to do a little bit of rust here. So that is, and that's not going to be the rust from AK. This is just my own. This is Terra Rosa mixed with the yellow ochre. Trying to get a slightly lighter rust on here, maybe. And by light, I mean just slightly lighter. If I make it too light, that dust is not going to show up at all. Use the Pester Immortal and crushed him super fine. Oh, thanks, Snowiak. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit better than last night. I know last night you were, well, this morning, I guess, or yesterday morning, you weren't feeling so too thrilled, but hopefully a little bit better today. Let's, I'm going to try and grab some more of the early war German vehicles here. Oh, actually, I don't think you've seen this one yet. So this is another one where I experimented with the rubbing alcohol. So see how they've got that, how the whitewash is kind of sunk down in the crevices, and here it's kind of washed away a little bit there. And then we did some of the melted snow over here on the heat elements, and yeah, you can see some of the icicles right there. That was super fun. Here, let me get this back over here, and let me grab, if I may, some of our early war stuff. So, oh, look at this. Look at this little Stug right here. That's a very early war Stug right there. And that actually that was very handy in blowing up a Russian church. That was maybe a teensy bit of a war crime right there. But there's your Ghost Division. There's Erwin Rommel in his PZ-38T. Look at that. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. And oh, this is actually a 1/48 scale model kit right here. But I desperately wanted one of these. I had to have me one of these. The 1/48 scale model kits, they really do have some very nice decals for them. That's for sure. I loved painting that guy right there. And I'm gonna, in a moment here, snag some of my Fallschirmjägers so you can actually get to see these in person. So there we go. This was really fun. I actually modified some of the guys there so they could actually be some passengers / crew. And again, this was all just done in acrylics. It had to be done really fast. There was not much time on this whole army here. Drew and colleagues cheered me up. Well, that's good. I'm glad, because it just didn't sound like you were having too much fun there. And I loved. So that's actually a giant chunk of Sculpey there. And that is, again, part of the Monte Cassino army. There you go. And I've got a slideshow. Maybe tomorrow you'll probably be seeing the slideshow. It's my I'll be back screen. But you can see a lot of the same colors that we're using here in many ways. It would have been nice to be able to do these guys in oils. That's for sure. And see that big old refrigerator magnet right there? That's what holds it to the piece of sheet metal. And oh yeah, this was that's a spotter right there. And then we had, let's see, a mortar team. So this is that same Sculpey. Again, I had a lot of fun doing that camo. That was very fun. Needs an army dog. Let's see. What else we got here? Another fun little... Yeah, another little fun dude here, just kind of hanging out. I think he was a sniper's bodyguard. That's what he... Oh, here's the sniper. Yeah, there's the sniper for the army right there. All again, that's all Sculpey. And these were all, like I said, color coded and different, yeah, so that I knew just who was part of what squad. That was a blast. We had some more of our Hano mags. What do we got here? Yeah, that Mediterranean helmet. That was so much fun. And you can see they got some different colored smocks on them. Ah, look at that. Here we go. So again, these were color coded so that I knew which squad was which. Let's see. Oh, 1/72nd scale. Yeah, it's a lot of folks kind of wish that bolt action was done in 1/72nd scale because you could have much bigger battles than you can with the, well, basically 1/48, for lack of a better term. So here's some of the early war German stuff that we haven't shown in a while. I don't think I've even gotten a chance to use this artillery piece yet. I don't think this has been in any games so far. But there's some of that AK interact. Or no, that's MiG ammo mud. But now that I realize all that is just oil paint and the weathering powders. Yeah, I just make my own now. Let's see. That's my model I've started as a little Snowyak. Let's see. I have to make sure you get to the next HGMS show. Yeah. Well, now you know why I wanted to ship you stuff. Right now you know, because there's a dozen just of these crotchets in here. There's a dozen of those. I mean, yeah, we've got entire armies here. Oh, actually, you saw the PZ2. There's a cute little Panzer I that I sculpted. I think, oh yeah, look at that. The turret still moves. Look at that. So that was made just out of Sculpey. Again, I needed an objective marker for a tournament, and I wanted, oh, look it's got a magnet on the bottom. So yeah, that's just, and then of course we had our army door knocker, our door knocking machine. That's all it does. It points at the Char-B and it just knocks on the door. That's all it does. So yeah, these guys are, is this Hans? I think this is Hans. Yeah, he won actually a pair of Iron Cross. Actually, he won the Iron Cross. He even won Oak Leaves and Clusters. Because actually, after each of my battle reports, somebody from each side was given some kind of a medal of some kind of meritorious achievement for bravery or insanity. Hans got his by being the last one to survive a HE round from a medium howitzer. And by last one, I mean he was one of like a dozen guys. Everybody else was dead. And he survived. And somehow Hans also survived the Battle of Arras. And he even survived the Battle of Nuvion. Basically, everybody else dies except for Hans. He's the only one that survives. Actually, cosplaying kit, you just reminded me. I've got a bunch of the Dark Sword dogs. I literally have some German Shepherds. Now, Jim may not be quite so happy that I use his German Shepherds as well, I don't think he wants me to use them as explosive dogs, because that's now that is in the game. That it's in the game. Because what the Russians would do is they would train dogs to go get their food underneath a tank. If they saw a tank, underneath the tank was food. And they would obviously make them as hungry as possible, take them out to the battlefield, and then when they saw tanks, they would run underneath them with a mine strapped to them, and then they would set them off. Which, that's fantastic as long as the only guys that have tanks are the other guys. But the dogs, apparently they didn't discriminate about which tank. That they just saw a tank and they said, there's food under that tank. So they would also run under the Russian tanks. Oh, hey Drax, how are you doing? Oh, great, we use dingoes. I bet you there's more than a few of those. So folks, if you are not following Drax, be sure to follow Drax. Hey Drax, did Jinx already start her stream? And I'm actually, geez, well then I gotta ask her, are you gonna be doing a late night stream tonight, or are you still kind of feeling tired like you were the other week, or the eyes were just driving you nuts? And then the next question is, does the Queen of Onslaught come back, or are you still doing Spidey and Venom? So folks, yeah, go if you want to see some massive scale stuff, or oh gosh, they're not Astra Militarum. What are your guys? What's the 40K army that you've been working on for quite a while and adding a whole lot of stuff to? I just, for some reason, I keep thinking of the Mechanicus army. Your fly. Oh yeah, you got two hell. Oh yeah, the Solar Auxilia. Oh, she's done. That's cool. Oh, and you get your Indomitus tomorrow. Now, did you actually come up with the scheme for your Necrons? I know the last time I heard you talking about it, you kind of said, "Well, I'm thinking of this." I wasn't sure if that is. Oh, and you got the Mechanicum too. So yeah, you'll have to let me know if you're gonna do that. Was it had some greens and some oranges in it for your Necron? Now look at what we're doing. We're just again, this is our little experimental sable liner brush from Da Vinci here. We're just gonna start to smooth some things out now. I think orange for the glow. Yeah, that seems to be kind of a. I think people have seen the green just a little bit too much, and they're looking for alternatives. And the orange is pretty nifty. Was it Richard Gray that I guess he did one of the Necrons with an orange glow or something like that? I don't know. I'm not quite sure people will be happy if I did mine with a magenta glow or not, but I will be doing them with oils. Oh, Drax, we did test something here. So this mixed with regular oil paint does act sort of like this. It's nowhere near an exact replica of this, but it's close enough for now. He did them red with blue powder blades. Yeah, okay. Ooh, Snowiac, Ice Necrons. Boy, if you've got if you got a link or something like that, you gotta send me a link to that. That would be very cool. Yeah. Actually, I was thinking of almost doing I don't want to say jungle Necron, but forest Necrons. Oh, wood elf Necrons. There you go. Sort of like overgrown, something like that. You know, jungle sort of stuff.
Spark my gun, John.
Wait a minute. We've got the smoking jet. The smoking jet. Oh, but it just went away. Bummer. Why are my alerts not showing me? The smoking badger. There we go. Thank you so much for the follow. I just had to scroll up a little bit to find that. Oh, I was going to try the Aptalung Silver. Oh, now, I guess the other thing, too, that I was going to try is I've got the Aptalung 502s, and I've got the medium, that was it, the dry, or the matte drying, whatever it is. So I'll give them a try, another shot again, just for the heck of it. Ooh, let's go over here. Let's do something like this. And I think it's actually going to have to be thick paint because I think we got lots of thin paint sitting there. So let's maybe do something like this on a couple of our chippy things. Let's do that. We haven't done that at all, really. I'm going to get some of these on the hatch right here, the door. A couple of small ones. There we go. I think we did some on this side. We did some over there. How's about on our foot rail? Couple of dots over here. Okay. I will have to check that out then. Thanks for tracking that down, Snowiak. It's appreciated. Ooh, I need to get some. So we've been using the AK. This right here, the dust effects, getting that down into the crevices and stuff. I'm thinking. Okay, I like the darker stuff there. Let's do a couple of. Kind of brings out those chips just a bit. I'm thinking, do I want to? No, I'm not going to lighten up that panel. We'll let that panel go. Everything can't be all lightened up. What we do need, however, is to get a little light on top of that. I think I actually need to go thicker. Maybe even thicker to get that to stick. There we go. And I'm thinking too, where's my steel? So yeah, we're just gonna throw some of this out here. And the idea is kind of gonna work like the way the pearl white would do. Just gonna throw a little touch of that right here. We'll let that mix into our lighter tone. Take some of that away. Ah, there we go. And now I think we'll get a little bit of a sparkle out of that on that light over there. Oh, Angry Ham has to take off, go to work. Well, thanks for hanging out and keeping me company. You have a good day at work. Yeah, let's see. How long did I think it was Saturday? Even though, obviously, the big long stream is tomorrow. Well, actually, this one has been going on for 5 hours and 40 minutes here. This one's going on a little bit longer than I thought it would. Okay, I think we've got ourselves a nice little edge around that. And I might... some of these, yeah, see these rivets right here? I'm going opposite on these. I'm hitting them actually with a little bit of a dark to make the light show up. Yeah, just there, I know there's a little bit of a rusty type color there. I'm going to leave that there. I'm not going to wipe that or smooth that out or anything. I'm just looking down here into my tread. See what this starts, so as it's starting to dry a little bit. I'm still thinking that I'm just going to go back with my actual sand and kind of add on to this here. I mean, it's a nice little start. And I can still go back in here and play with it a little bit, like right here. I think we can smooth some of that out on this side. Yeah, I can smooth some of that out on this side too. It's okay stuff. Is it different than the weathering powders? Yeah, that's for sure. Anything else that I would like to smooth out? Again, I'm going to get that paint out of that brush there. Got all this chipping stuff going on. We do have some staining around the turret ring. So let's go back to this guy here. I've intentionally wanted him to really have a nice chance for that paint to kind of dry on him. I also would like to do some pin line washes around these rivets like this. It's so much easier to bring them out this way than in acrylics. Where's my... That's what I'm looking for here. My nice little one-haired, what's left of a Winsor Newton brush. That's more like it. Teal's in the house. How are you doing? Folks, if you are not already following Teal Scare, you definitely want to do that. It's always a good time. I hope that this Friday was an okay day for you. Not too crazy. I have just been having some fun working on historicals for the first time in forever. So we've been doing this all in one sitting, doing it with the oils, and it started just there was nothing on it, just primer, and we've taken it from primer to this in a couple hours using the oils, having some fun. I love all the colors on the tank: green, orange, ivory. Yes, sirree. It's when you think of, yes, it's a small tank, but I mean it's still got to be at least about, I don't know, 10, 11 tons, something like that. It's big. It's big enough, and it's got a wide enough surface to have all kinds of fun little colors. Look at this, these little panel line washes here, little pin line washes around those rivets. Now, could we maybe do a little bit of streaking on one of those? Okay. Maybe we do a little bit of streaking down on one of those. Certainly not all of them. Now let's grab our, let's see what we got here. We're going to grab this one. Let's start to do some stuff on his skin, on his face. We just kind of, we're letting that, wanted to let that just sort of bread in the proving drawer. Let's get some lighter skin tones on him now. Maybe a touch of raw sienna in there too. It's our Terra Rosa, mixing it with our white. I think we can thin it down, and let's start to give him some fingers. So this must be Perry Brothers. This is not actually, maybe this is not Warlord. It starts to all make sense now. Not quite, well, it's just been that long. That's how long it's been since I've had a chance to mess with these. Well, Blitzkrieg and Perry Brothers combined. Getting prepped to do a first trial of oils on Sunday. Well, I hope it's fun for you. I mean, obviously there'll be weird things because, well, just like me with the 3D printing, right? Everything that I do with 3D printing is weird and alien because it's just not something that I've really done at all before. And I guess it'll seem that way a little bit at first with the oils, but just a little bit of trial and hopefully not too many things going sideways, and you should be able to, I think, do some really fun stuff. You can really do some fantastic blending with them. I don't want to lose my... I've got plenty of nifty little green and a 5 o'clock shadow on his face. I don't want to lose that too much. So we'll bring some of that back here maybe. Again, just grabbing some of that green. There we go. Binoculars need some kind of something on there. So we're going to make a lighter bluish gray out of this. Let's see, and none of the 40K. I don't really play. I really stopped playing 40K when I was playing my Demon Hunters and Witch Hunters, so that kind of gives you an idea of just how long ago that was. It would be interesting actually using the oils on wave serpents and fire prisms and such, because all that organic stuff. The flying land raider, those could be, I mean, it's not like they wouldn't be fun to do with the oils. It's just I've got actually a bunch of Gates of Antares vehicles, kind of sci-fi vehicles. And there's some 3D printing stuff that I've got that's kind of vehicle related. That could be some fun too. See, now we're getting a little bit of grayishness into it, so that's better. That's what I was looking for. The tank, if you're looking for any kind of Imperial sort of tanks that I would want to paint, it would be Sisters of Battle stuff. because, well, they got what the new. I know there's a new exorcist and a new immolator, right? And I'm just going to get some lighter colors on his little hat there. So let's. Where's my sister? Ah, here we go. So as you can see, I can check out the blog. I had a full, massive Sisters of Battle army with 4 vehicles in it. A scratch built. That was my immolator. I also had an exorcist. I think I also had a Hydra because I had an Imperial Guard contingents added to it. So that is if you're looking for 40K vehicles, something that I'd be interested in, it would definitely be anything Sisters related. And here's my new favorite color, indigo. Man, look at how intense that is. My goodness. That's just hard to believe. Now we're going to get a little bit of our metal into that. So that's our, not AK, that's the MiG ammo metal. And now we'll just go boom right here on our machine guns. Get those looking to be blackened steel. As you do. That's better. And then we'll take some of the aluminum over the top of that. Not too much, not too much. A little bit goes a long way there. Now, let's see if we can give him a little bit of an eye here. So I'll take some of that unbelievably intense indigo, mix it with a little brown matter. Wow, look at that. So indigo, a new favorite. Absolutely love it. Basically what I do is I take the Winsor Newton paints and I thin those down. I'll show you in just a second here. I just want to get some eyes on this guy here real quick. So in here is basically your Winsor Newton mixed with this. Because what I was trying to replicate were these. And we've used a couple of these. We used the metallic ones, but we also used one of these lighter ones. I think it was this one here, maybe. Yeah, something like that. We used that. Or no, it was this one. Yeah, Sunny Fly. Let's put a little bit more of this out here. The only problem is this gets really gummed up, and actually I've already got, these things tend to kind of fall apart. And what I've basically figured is that those things were just this mixed with oil paint. And when I figured, okay, that's what it must be, I said, wait a minute, I can do that myself. And I can do any color that I want, whatever, as many as I need, or as much as I need. So, oops, let's get cleaned out a little bit, and because these things were they were thin to the consistency of miniature paint already, which was kind of handy. I'll get a little bit of lighter tone on here now. The thing is with these, though, you don't have the option to go any thicker. You can only go thinner, really. That's why I like my own oils, because I can kind of decide how thick or thin I want to go with those. So it's a little more control. It's also even more the consistency of miniature paint. Let's see. Yeah, well, and the oil brushers are potentially about $8 a piece. Whereas I can buy 1 tube of oil paint for $8 and probably make about 20 oil brushers out of it. Again, the oil brushers, they do things that you can't, like those metallic things. You can't get a Winsor Newton metallic oil. They're horrible. They're absolutely abysmal. But for a lot of the other stuff, and there are no cobalt or cobalt violet or cadmium oil brusher colors. So that's the other thing that the oils give you that, the MIG ammo can't. Everything's a trade-off, right? You get a little bit of this, you have to give up a little bit of that. Okay, let's give him a... He does actually have some teeth there and a lower lip. We got to give him that too. So a little bit of light there. And some teeth there. That helps. All the Perry Brothers guys have a tendency to have a very worried look on their face for some crazy reason. Not quite sure why. Now here's some of that brown matter. I'll get this in between some of those fingers there. There we go. And we have to basically just kind of paint in those fingers because they're not really there. Or if they are there, there ain't much of them. Here, let's get some little bit of shadow color here on his shirt. And then some light right here on his sleeve. Like so. And again, now this was the first army that I painted all in oils. That was my Winter Russians. This was the first time I ever used them, was on my Winter Americans. So all of those trench coats, overcoats, the helmets, it was a huge help. I was able to get things in so much faster for obvious reasons. And now these, my Fallschirmjäger, those were in acrylics. I would have loved to have done those in oils. That would have actually gone faster, but sadly they had to be dry. There was no other way around that. And let's see, some of my winter. So tomorrow what we're going to be doing for sure is going to be playing with some different snow effects here, because I got a lot of my painted Russians. Now this one is more of the, this is actually a mix of the, no, that's a straight up crushed glass snow there. This was a mix of a few different techniques together. And you can see it's got a little bit of that sparkle of the crushed glass, but there's just not as much of it. Now let me see. We have got a couple of other. Again, now this one was a little bit more of the kind of Valhalla Blizzard type of snow with a little bit of the crushed glass mixed in. And those crazy drum magazines of those Soviet light machine guns. I think we'll go just a touch more towards our white here. I'm actually mixing that with the MIG ammo. I don't want to go any lighter on his skin, but we will go a little bit lighter on his sleeve and a little bit lighter on his shirt here. I think I'm going to thin that down. That's what we needed to do. Sometimes you got to thin it down, sometimes you got to thicken it up. The miniature always lets you know what you got to do. Let's see, Megan, I like them all, but the combo is my fave, and that was that's what was determined. Now I did it again with some Song of Ice and Fire stuff, and that's actually on the YouTube channel. And it was kind of the combo that ended up being sort of the favorite. Here, I'm gonna go in here and we'll just take this little brush and let's do some chipping here maybe. I think this could be fun. We just need to do something on this edge right here. It's a little bit kind of blah. Basically kind of, it's the go big or go home right here. And we just went a little bit bigger there. I think it needed that. And then we're going to go back, I think, with some lights here. Where possible. Boy, those fingers, there's like no fingers there. I gotta just kind of basically paint something in here just to have some kind of color or shape. There's very little there to work with. And that's kind of the downside of the Perry Brothers stuff, is that some of that detail can get a little bit weird. Is this the white here? Let me see if I can even open this thing up. So this is the other disadvantage with the oil brushers. So I actually need a channel locks to open this thing up, which is why I like my own version, because A, agitator, B, these things never clog, and there we go. There's my paint. So yeah, I like the idea of the oil brushers, and they have those advantages, but there are some, unfortunately, significant disadvantages that come along with it.
Who enters my domain?
Well, look at that. We got Reiner. How are you doing? We'll welcome in the Raiders. Boy, this is probably going to really freak him out.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow, Clockpit. That is appreciated. Boy, we're really going to freak him out, because not only is it oils, but we're doing vehicles here. Our tiny, mighty Italian tanks. Early war Italian tanks. So, folks, welcome in to the Raider. Let's see. Oh, Zen for one, and a Genuine Vision. How are you doing, Jan? Be sure to give Reiner and Jan follows. Oh, and Heath, how are you doing? And Blasto the Rocket Boy, how are you doing? So I'll just welcome everybody. And this is basically an entire weekend here. It's going to be all historicals. Hobbies for Happiness, how are you doing? Welcome in. Welcome in. You have no idea how long I've been itching to finish off some of my Italians here. So this is just a part of what we've been doing, because we've been working with some Bersaglieri, and we're kind of adding on to some of our mighty early war Italian vehicles there. So Jan woke up early, and we've been basically, all of this stuff is done in one sitting. Now, for those of you that aren't too familiar with bolt action, so that's what this is from. This is from bolt action. This is an army that I did here. This is the very first one that I painted all entirely in oils. Oh, Ugly, how are you doing? Is there a Thunderdome in here? Is Drew in here somewhere? How did he sneak in here? Now, this is the very first thing. I've told you guys ad nauseum about how the very first thing I ever painted in oils were my Winter Americans, and there you go. Those are the very same guys. Now, this is the most recent army here. This is my Fallschirmjägers. That was for the last tournament that I did. These vehicles, one's painted in oils, one's painted in acrylics, one is painted in weathering powders. That Crusader on the left, that was painted in oils. The Jagdpanzer on the right, done in weathering powders. So we got acrylics on the Winter Germans. The Brits were a mix of everything. Acrylics, oils, you name it. So this is one of the 4 battle reports that I've got on my YouTube channel. That's actually Blood at Arras. And here is the last one that I've done. This is the Bridge to Nouvion. And you can see the Germans trying to get across that river right there. There's my early war French. And there's your Monte Cassino Fallschirmjägers. That was for that was for Operation Sting. That was last year. We do have a Thunderdome. So folks, give Thunderdome Drew a follow as well. Follow all the follows. Do all of that. So what we've been trying to do is we've been trying to show how, yes, you can do chipping and all that kind of stuff. All of this is wet. Every single last bit of this thing is wet. If I wanted to, I could take my weathering sponge or my sponge here and just wipe all that stuff right off there. Oh, NG Lamines. I actually get to say hello to you in person. Yes, very cool. But what we're doing now is we're getting a couple of little highlights here and there. Not too many. You don't want to do too much of this.